Welcome, everybody, to the Making Awesome podcast. You got your favorite boys in the room here. You got Jacob of Construct 3D, you got Grant of 3D Musketeers, and you got a new look. New month, new look, new us. We have rebranded the podcast, still the same name, which is it's a facelift, all right? We've mixed some methylene chloride and plastic and we've injected it. Now it's solid. Don't do that. Uh, I was gonna say Botox, but like no, we don't do Botox.
No.
We've painted some
Look,
some
I've got to
plastic on the
raw dog
face.
how ugly I am. I'm gonna just survive.
Same. Yep. Same. So yeah, we've got a new look. You guys are going to be seeing it as we get different guests and things like that on. But, we figured we added a co-host, so we got to do this right. And, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I just realized because I'm more zoomed in, I don't need the background blur. It can go because it's just distracting. And before people ask, I am working on a better camera because my lovely 15-year-old Logitech is it's surviving. But
Yeah.
I'll only go that far.
You're only a professional YouTuber on Saturdays. Or Sundays. It's fine. Yeah,
Part-time
don't worry
professional
about
YouTuber.
it. Yeah, you're a professional YouTuber on the weekends. We're going to be talking all about 3D printer safety because it is something that has come up quite a bit. Our Discord's been talking a lot about it, and we even have another 3D printer fire to talk about next week. So it's something that is becoming unfortunately more common as we're seeing printers with more features. And, Jacob, I think part of this is they're value engineering certain things out so they can have certain things in. And unfortunately, those certain things that they're value engineering out, well, those tend to be the safety ones.
Yeah, I've noticed it a few times. I wouldn't say in the most recent printer batches,
Mm-hmm.
but there has been machines coming out where I've looked at some of the decisions and gone, "Oh, that's a cost decision." And some of it is fine. Like safety is not a yay or nay, it's this weird shade of gray. One I like to say is it's the Swiss cheese of failures, because if you get through every hole, you end up just getting a problem. And the amount of safety layers you add makes more holes less likely to go wrong. So it's not as simple as you must do this to be safe. I mean, how many people have run AC heater beds without thermal fuses? Loads. Actually
I
loads.
never
And
have.
then people learn thermal fuses are cool and they're cheap.
Yep, they're cool, they're cheap. Literally, they keep your printer cool
Yep.
when your SSR fails. Not if, when. When your SSRs, MOSFETs, they all fail short, which means they just latch closed and they
Yep.
ain't ever unlatching.
And they
So
get
yeah.
real scary real quick, especially if
Yep.
you're using the big block style ones. So there's so many fakes of them on like Amazon and eBay and all of that. Don't use them. Buy from an actual reputable company, even if it's just like RS and it's double the price. Buy from them because you know you're getting what you're getting.
Yep.
But
Mauser,
those ones,
DigiKey, Newark, right?
yeah, especially DigiKey.
Yep.
Yep.
DigiKey's worldwide, so you can buy straight from DigiKey.
I think RS is also worldwide. But
I'm not
don't
aware
quote
of
me
it.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, RS components. They're a nice one. They do the other side of like Mauser and Farnell. They're like the other, like more hardware focused side. So if one of them covers everything,
Yeah.
that's all I know.
And there are times in life to save a buck or two. Then there are times in life where you want to preserve life and spend that buck or two, even if it's triple the price. It goes from $10 to $30. We don't care. I promise you that your homeowner's insurance deductible, your renter's insurance
I was just gonna
deductible
say that the
is
deductible is going
more.
to be more.
Yeah, and the last thing you want to do is deal with a house fire, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of house fires, want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors of the stream. We have Construct 3D, which makes some of the fastest 3D printers in the UK, the world's first bamboo 3D printer. And if you do want to check them out, you can go to construct-3d.com. Links are in that description down below. We've also got Printed Solid, which is our filament sponsor for the show and for the channel. And if you do want to enter to win some Printed Solid filament, you could do so by clicking that link in the pinned chat message. And if you are watching this back, whether it is audio only or you're watching it back as a recording, too late, can't enter to win any of the filament, but you can still go check out Printed Solid. Links are down below as well. Remember, these streams do come to you completely ad-free. Say a couple of bucks to keep them ad-free goes a long way to helping us not have to run random ads in the middle of things, because the ads always occur in the middle of actual good conversation. Bearded Printer with the 5 memberships.
Time.
Monkey Craft with the $5 says more Spice Guys. Realistically, I think that it begs the question, Jacob. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
I want safety.
I want a zig a zig ah.
Oh.
And we will preface this initially that if you didn't expect the live ADHD at least 2-hour show, you've come to the wrong place.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about fire safety
so
and all that,
many tangents,
but we're likely
and
to
an
also
80% chance of food.
Definitely
80% chance
like,
of food.
We're waiting for like a sports book company to pick up this show and allow you to place bets on how fast it is that we go into a tangent about food. David Connor Shover with the $10. Thank you very much as well. So we had the question about MOSFETs. Chat answered it quickly that MOSFETs are not any better. In fact, they're often more sensitive, in my experience, than a SSR, where they tend to latch a lot sooner. They're smaller, so they build up a lot more heat. So yeah.
The one thing that I like to remind people, if you're using the big brick style SSRs, get a heatsink for it.
Yep.
There are specific passively cooled heatsinks for these relays. Now, if you're doing a DC relay, you 100% need the heatsink, because they get hot fast. And if they get too hot, they explode because they're potted. They're just solid chunks of resin inside a small, definitely not explosive piece of silicon that if it gets too hot, you've made a grenade in your printer. But I've seen it quite a few times with Voron printers, where people will just put the relay on the metal enclosure that they've made in their heated chamber. That's not a heatsink. You've just
the heated
strapped
chamber.
your relay to the heated chamber.
I'm like, crap, I definitely have a custom built printer with the SSR screwed to the frame, but it's not enclosed, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, frame is okay.
Yeah.
But if that piece of like metal is the wall stopping the heat from the cold, I saw that at Smurf. There was somebody like showing off their frankly amazing machine. And the only thing I could think of was that relay is on a 60-degree heated chamber, and that relay is only rated for 50 degrees. And I'm like, oh, the fact it hasn't gone wrong is kind of scary.
Yeah, it's like they're more or less, unfortunately, playing with fire. And we've seen enough of this week. We're trying not to get there, but unfortunately, as we've said, safety is one of the absolute easiest things to value engineer out.
Yeah, you can go from, what's the minimum safety being a grounding wire? And some companies can value engineer that out safely, but they won't, because it's very expensive to do it safely. And it's not worth it because a wire is cheap. But then there's others where they're like using redesigned relays, looking at you, Quiddy, where you should have used a more industrially stable off the shelf instead of trying to save, frankly, $2 to $3 on a relay.
Yep.
Instead of using the proper thing. Like there are certain things like Bamboo Lab making their wires ungodly thin without any safety margin. And that's the one thing you'll probably hear a lot of what I will come up with is safety margins. Because it's all well and good, it's safe and it's theoretically safe. But what if it wasn't safe? Well, that's where the margin comes in, because it allows you to go over. But yeah, safety is something that I'm quite a stickler on. I've
You are.
electrocuted myself before. I've spot welded myself to a table. I've given myself arc flash blindness before, all because I was not following safety. And I learned very quickly that safety is actually important. If you go blind for several days because you accidentally looked into a spot welder, which you made yourself because you shorted out a 600 amp LiPo battery, just like touching the leads by accident, you suddenly get a nice fear of electricity. I don't like to call it a phobia. I call it respectful
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah, sometimes the hobby has to slap you a little bit for you to get
Yep.
respected by it, you know?
Turns out even 24-volt will go through your body with enough amps, and it will. I had a hole in my hand, and it was not nice.
Steve Bill's member for 23 months, basic support. Thank you, sir, says howdy. And don't forget, guys, when we are done here hanging out, we're going to go send you over to hang out with Steve Builds. And he's hanging out with Daniel over from ModBot. They're working on a printer together, which is both adorable and awesome. So, we're excited for that. We got view at your own risk with the 499 asking, with the design changes in 3D printers that extend AC voltages closer to the end user, is there different safety considerations for AC versus DC?
Yes, there's quite a few. I know I can start talking about compliance. I'll probably do that at the end of this little segment.
Jacob can go
But I
for
want to know what you
hours
think.
on compliance.
What do you think first?
So for me, right, 12 volt, 24 volt machines, I don't even care about sticking tools in there. I'm going for it because the shock of a 12 or 24 volt system, like you said, traditionally, your skin is such high resistance, there's basically no risk. I will have a higher risk of shorting something out on the board itself than I will of physically hurting myself. And I've definitely never done that before. Definitely never shorted out heaters and blown MOSFETs
Yeah.
in motherboards because I shorted out the effing heaters. But I have a problem with it, right? We saw with the Q1 Pro how its chamber heater from Cheaty as well, how its chamber heater was always live. If you touched it and grounded yourself, you were getting zapped.
It was very scary.
It
Very
was.
scary.
It is also like in the back of the machine, kind of out of the way, and you have to try to get to it. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And Chidi fixed that with this machine, with the Plus 4, but they again went with kind of weird things. It's still AC coupled, but the bed is DC coupled. Like, put in a better power supply, make them both DC coupled, and be done with it.
See,
Why
that's the
go
thing
further?
that is one big consideration is DC is safer,
Way safer.
but the parts they generate more heat.
Well, okay,
So
hold
the
on.
relays
We have
get
to
choice.
caveat safer, right? Because it's not technically safer. AC, your muscles will spasm at your frequency. So in the US it's 60 hertz, in the UK and the EU it is 50 hertz. DC, you're latching, right? Anytime I work with high voltage DC, I have somebody there with a big wooden stick that is instructed to beat the hell out of me off of whatever it is that I'm stuck on. Because you will not be able to unstick yourself from DC if you get electrocuted with DC. You will not be able to unstick yourself. You will be stuck. Your muscles will contract, and that's it.
And they'll stay there.
You're on there. And unless you're good and your other arm is available to beat the other arm off, you're not coming off of that load. In my personal experience, there's going to be some elect chickens out there that wear arc flash suits on a daily basis and watch Physics Duck, who says, hey, you want to see something cool? That are going to tell me that I'm wrong, and that's fine. You can leave that in the comments. That's what they're there for.
Give us the engagement. It helps.
It's always for the engagement. But sorry, yes, traditionally though, DC is considerably safer than AC.
So when it comes to a safety perspective from a material side, instead of just AC versus DC, the big one that I see quite a lot of is DC is more expensive to work with because the components need to be rated for the right thing. So AC, obviously, you've got your sine wave, which also means most of the power is off.
Right.
Only like 20% of an AC wave is full power. The rest of it is the tail ends of all of it, which means the components used in AC generally are quite cheap, even if they do the same job. So it's why we saw with Quiddy with the DC heater versus AC heater, and they went AC. It's because the relays are cheap.
Yeah.
Like they don't generate as much heat. You don't need coolant. You don't need a power supply to power them. You just pull it from the wall. You're not buying those components. The downside, it's not safe because it's live. And in theory, if I put an Allen key in just the wrong way, I'm going to get shocked. And that is the downside of AC is when things go wrong, they go wrong catastrophically very quickly, where DC goes wrong slowly and then catastrophically. So you get a bit more of a safety margin there as well.
And let's put this into a perspective of watts, right? I'm going to use a Prusa as an example because it's just the power supply that I know well. They are rated at roughly 250 watts. Okay. 250 watts of DC. That's not even half a horsepower. Okay. A horsepower is 746 watts for those wondering, give or take. Right? It depends on your school of thought for a horsepower, but it's roughly 746 watts. A wall here in the United States, on average, is going to give you 110 volts at up to 20 amps. It is often rated at about 2,300 watts as to what you can pull from the wall before you trip a breaker. Okay? That is what? 3 horsepower?
Yep.
Most of your lawnmowers put out less than 3 horsepower unless you have land, right? Your single piston motors put out like 2 horsepower, and it's plenty. 3 horsepower going through your body of energy sucks. And in the UK and the EU and countries that use higher voltage, quadruple that, right?
Give or take. So our plugs are all rated at about 3.2 kilowatts.
Woo!
But our rings are rated much higher, and the plugs do last longer at max load. So if you don't immediately trip the breaker, which thankfully European breakers just in general much more sensitive and better across the board.
American breakers, buddy, a 15 amp breaker blows at 20 amps, okay?
Oh man. No, the amount of trickle current you need to activate a European breaker is so much lower.
Yeah.
They are a lot safer because the downside of having higher power is it's higher power. And how I was pulling 25 amps through a circuit once.
Spicy.
That's 13 on one plug,
Yep.
13 on a second plug. That was running at the time 2 full Bitcoin mining rigs. And eventually one of the plugs did blow because it turns out I was doing 13.2 amps for 2 weeks, and it literally exploded, yeeted the pins across the room and embedded them in the wall. And that's just from a momentary power dump. Imagine if that doesn't trip your breaker. That is going to immediately arc weld pretty much anything around it. It's going to cause arc fires. Electricity is one of those things where it gets dangerous really quickly, and you suddenly realize that limit of, oh, materials are kind of cool versus not, breaks down very quickly. Like if you've ever seen electric pyrography, where they put a little pin in the top, wet the wood, and they electrically
they're normally
it.
using a microwave oven transformer for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that, I think is only a couple hundred watts. It's very high voltage, but that's only a couple hundred watts. When you're dealing with kilowatts, things get melty.
Yeah, they're putting one of these in there. Yes, I actually have a microwave oven transformer reasonably handy. Don't ask questions. This is a microwave oven transformer. These, in the States, run at 2,000 volts at, yes, amperage. They will pull as much amperage as you give them. This is a spare from my Tesla coil. They will pull as much amperage as you give them, and they will literally catch fire if you run them too much. These will kill you. They will not hurt the entire time you're dying because you are here 1 minute and you're gone the next. Respect transformers, okay? These things are dangerous. Like, look at the friggin' size. You can see the windings on this from this distance, right? Yeah. Don't mess with microwave oven transformers. The people that do that pyrography stuff, you'll
It
often
scares
notice
me.
they're
It
wearing
does scare me.
like big gloves. Those are still not enough. Those are
Nope.
still not. You can go right through it, and people yearly there's multiple deaths from that specific hobby because of these stupid things. You need to respect energy, or energy will remind you who's actually in charge. I'm gonna put this back down.
Yeah.
It's very heavy, made of iron.
But no, so the wattage is dangerous. It gets very
Yes.
hot very quickly, and especially if like the wires can't dump the heat, they start getting melty, and then it just gets worse from there. It starts a cycle of destruction that is very hard to stop.
Yep.
So it's cheaper though,
Way
and that's where
cheaper.
we see value engineering. So, for example, we use a DC bed in our small printer, which is behind me slightly off camera. Um, but we use AC in our big printer. And the reason being is the power supply. So the relays cost the exact same. We use gold SSR relays. They're very expensive. They're about 35 quid each. But they're very good. They come with heat sinks. We even give them passive and active cooling. So
Because of
they're
course
never
you
going to
do.
go wrong. You have to. It's safety. What if the fan dies? You're going to make sure it's still going to stay safe. And if the heat sink breaks or you forgot to add thermal paste or whatever, it still needs to be safe. So safety margin. But no, so in our big printer, our bed is 800 watts. If we wanted a power supply for that, we're looking at about £70 extra, about 65 to £70 just to power the bed, where we can actually save that money if we went to AC. And the reason we didn't go AC with the small printer was safety.
Yep.
The small printer is more likely to be around by small people, so little humans. They are going to stick their fingers in
Crash
places. They're going to be
goblins, they
around
tend to do that.
schools. Yeah. And you really don't want something that can get damaged that goes deadly very quick. So in the EU, we're very thankful we've got lots of safety compliance for live power. So for example, a live wire needs to be double insulated no matter what. So the wires you normally get on your silicon heater pads do not class as double insulation. They don't actually class as single insulation. You need to do something extra to them. So even though that they are coated in silicon and then fiberglass wound, any fiber winding doesn't class as an insulation because in theory you can open it. So we then PVC coat ours. That is one of the areas that can be value engineered very quickly, going, well, technically a wax coating is a coating.
It's technically a coating.
It is a coating.
Yep.
And companies do get around the letter of the law with that legal gray area of, well, they didn't say how thick the wire needs to be, so we'll rate it 80% full load
We
because it's
love the
only going to be
gray.
used
We
at
love
max for a
playing in the
while.
gray, Jacob.
Uh, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, we put an adhesive over the wire, and that seals it from people getting to the bare contactor. And then they don't bother with the outer sheath because it saves money. Hell, Bamboo Lab skipped 2 steps because they took the wire and then they form dipped it around the coating. They didn't have a wire coat, they form dipped it. That saves so much money. It honestly does, because they're not needing wire. They're just getting the contactor on the inside. But it fails because if it's not perfect and it rubs just wrong, you foil it and then it contacts the next wire and then you get catastrophic fire. And your wall outlet, for the most part, won't know the difference between a high energy load through a thin wire and your printer working normally.
Especially for a short moment.
Yeah.
Um,
It is kind of scary.
I'm going back because we've had some we've had some other donations. Thank you all for this. Shergal for the $10 says, I'll add a question. When I have models that switch colors in a layer, they print ever so slightly different than layers that don't switch or switch less. Creality K2 Plus. Tuned filament, no joy. I'm assuming they're asking for some help on that. My basic understanding of that is going to be temperature for different colors. So you have thermal emissivity of different colors of filament. I've been testing this out recently. We have a client that really cares about print speed because time is their biggest factor. I've been running. Do I have one handy? I do not. The max flow rate for a white filament, it is 20% faster than black.
Yep. We
because
found similar. We found yellow's the worst color because you have to add so much pigment.
to
It
get it
doesn't
yellow.
it doesn't add more to the material and it makes it much harder to
Yeah.
heat.
So it could be that. I don't exactly know what the reason is. I don't have a K2 Plus. The only machine that I have that does that single nozzle multicolor is the X1 Carbon, and I never use that feature on it. I literally only use the AMS for spool failover, which is amazing. I need one for my plus 4 so bad. I've got some prints coming up that are 4.5 kilos in one print.
I think the big question is, what do you mean exactly by prints ever so slightly differently?
Yeah, let us
Um,
know, and we'll see
is
what we
it
can do.
shrinking? Because as it's changing colors, it's sitting there. So if you imagine the benchy, the lovely standard where we've got the benchy whole line, that will get worse if you're changing colors because you've done the entire layer and then you've just left it for about 30 to 35 seconds, I think is a Bamboo Lab and K2 switch
It
time.
takes a bit.
That is going to allow the material to
Shrink a little bit.
come together and you will get a difference in your layering. It's very unlikely that you're meaning offset, as in like the nozzle being offset. It is possible. There is an allowable slot in the
Yeah, it's probably
XY
like a loose belt
motors.
or something like that.
Yeah, loose belt, even like from motor positioning, if you put a force on another, it will move just a little bit. But it's probably not that. It's so minor most of the time, it doesn't matter. Um, I'd say the two big factors when it comes to multi-material is the time taken to change layers, because it adds minutes to every layer, and that can allow materials to shrink and change. The other one is just the materials.
Hmm.
Like, even if they're the same material, they do need different temperatures.
They do.
Uh, in reality, you're not going to do that because nobody's
No
optimizing
one's
a
going to do
print
that.
between temperature and color.
And in reality, you probably don't care either because you're running materials so high above their
Mm,
optimal temperature because you're running at high speed that ultimately for single color prints it doesn't matter. You don't notice the difference.
mm.
So,
I guess the only other thing I could think of right at the end is layer adhesion could be slightly worse with multicolor or multi-material,
yep.
just because you've got less heat in the top layer as you put the next layer on, so it might not fuse as well. But that is a bit of a stretch, because it really it I'm cutting hairs.
Yeah.
But there are factors. You won't get exactly the same performance, just because there's time. Time is the component that affects everything. But yeah, hopefully that has given some light to your question. If you do have a follow-up, just put it in the chat.
Yeah, let us know.
Um, yeah,
Uh
just tell us exactly what I mean by slightly different, and I can give a bit more advice.
Max H says speaking of food for the $5. So speaking of food, edible benchy. We're
I
working on
still
that.
need to send that message.
We're working on that soon, TM. I have to get a new one as well, so that I have one that's not like a year old. So we will we will get all that sorted. And let's see. Where there was a great comment. I'm like, I need to show this. Yeah, there it is. Sip of coffee. Sometimes Jacob sounds like a 50-year-old guy having 60 years of experience in machine building.
Um, I have, let's just say, I'm good. That is a huge compliment. I love that, by the way. Uh, I have sped run the machinist lifestyle very quickly,
But you
and
don't
I
have like
it,
you don't have like half your fingers are broken pointing in different directions and
I mean, I'm missing a bit of finger on this finger, a bit of finger on that finger. I've lost my nail fully on that one. It's come back somehow. I shot myself with an end mill, which I had to pull out of myself. Thankfully, end mills are sharp, so you just hold it together, put a bit of super glue. Nobody knows the difference. Um, Electrocuted myself multiple times. Basically, when safety is safety squints, you learn very quickly. Also, watching people die speeds it up because that will teach you very quickly. That was like the UK's mindset of for safety is, hey, you've done your safety course. Here's a guy dying. Go watch it. Now you're gonna know why you learned that course, and it's just on repeat. Strangely enough, you get very desensitized to stuff very quickly. I love my generation. We're so fucked up.
John Stern says Jacob is probably confused with Grant talking about lawnmowers with pistons. Are all your lawnmowers electric in the UK?
Yeah. Why
Oh,
why wouldn't they not be electric? Like the only ones that aren't are like the big outdoor ones for big field.
most of them are gas powered here.
The fuck is wrong with your country?
I'm like, my little push mower has a one piston engine.
Why? A
I,
motor exists. Just plug it in the wall and be like, "Boo, boo, boo, boo."
well, okay, I have 2 acres of land. I don't push mow it, to be clear. Right now, I don't mow it, period, because I'm still dealing with mower problems. But, yeah, no, like even with like a quarter acre, people will get like a little push mower. But a lot of it's been because of battery technology not getting to the point where it is like that much more affordable. Because Americans are often really concerned about price points. And electric mowers have existed for years. Plug-in mowers have existed for years. We're now just getting to the point where battery-powered mowers are getting better. Like Ego, I have Greenworks. I don't have their mower. I've been trying to buy one off Facebook Marketplace. But I have Greenworks power tools for
Hmm.
like my electric chainsaw, my pole saw, my weed whackers and things like that. Those are all operating on a 60-volt standard. Um, so it is a little bit interesting, but yeah, here in the States, most lawnmowers are gas.
Okay.
I
Have
didn't
you ever
know
heard
that
of an
was a thing.
extension cable? Yeah, we just use like mine's electric. Just extension cable if you really need to get to the far places of your garden.
Yep. Nope.
Though to be fair, your garden is huge because I keep forgetting how big America actually
Well,
is.
okay, I live on a fair bit of land, to be clear. I live on a lot of land for the average,
I mean,
like,
you live in the middle of nowhere.
I used to.
That's
Yeah, it's now becoming there's more homes around me, but like the average like decent size home lot is a quarter acre. Now we're seeing eighth acre and 1,000 square foot lots. Like you can reach out your window and touch your neighbor. Um, I am so far from my neighbor that my shed rolled 300 feet across my backyard and across their backyard and did not hit their house yet. Thank God. And my shed is
holy
a
shit.
my shed is a 20-foot square shed, so it's 20 feet by 20 feet, and it rolled across my backyard during a hurricane. Broke through fences. It was a whole deal, and it broke 180 some odd feet worth of fence in that process because it tried to go west, but it hit the west fence, and the west fence resisted it, so then it started to blow south. And it had gained so much speed by the time it hit the south fence that it broke right through it. And the only reason we know this is because we can see the evidence of where the west fence resisted, where it resisted. You can see the divots in the yard where it was rotating. But yes, yeah, I live on a
Holy
lot of
shit.
land. We're going to be doing a farm bot out here. We're going to be growing our own vegetables and things like that. That's going to be a big thing coming up on the channel. So if you do want to see all that, make sure to leave a like and get subscribed. We have 161 people watching, 39 likes. Pump those numbers up.
Gotta bump them up.
Yeah. MLV's
I
kind
think
of
Amber's right. Also, I just saw her in the chat. She's just mentioned I do have like a really tiny garden. It's average size.
yeah,
for
it's
the UK.
average size. Damn it, it's
Yeah,
not
nothing
tiny.
small.
It's
No.
average size. Mine is just
Bit
extra
large.
large.
I'd actually go to. Yeah, it's just a bit large.
Yeah, mine's extra large. Okay. Um, who MLV was asking why did you and I switch places? Do you know the reason for that? I know the reason for that. Do you know the reason?
I thought we just like to spice it up a bit, like right hand, left hand type thing.
Jesus Christ. oh, so you're using the stranger today. Okay.
Oh
No,
yeah.
it's the logo. The logo for the show would cover some of his screen. And I said since I started the show, I should be the one that loses screen real estate for the actual logo. So we put me where the logo would be over part of my image and not over part of Jacob's.
I
It's a
wouldn't care
respect thing.
one bit, like at all.
I know it's a respect thing for me, so that's why we did it. there's not like this crazy deep reasoning or anything to it. No, no. Mike Jones. It says my solar system is charging 20 volts to 120 AC just to bring it back down to 5 volts for my electronics seems odd. Yep. That's inverters, converters, and all of that. You lose efficiency in all of that.
Yep.
So you got to be careful there. I'm surprised your solar system is running such low voltage.
I thought that's quite
Yeah,
low. Isn't like PV panels like
it
minimum
depends.
60 volt to like
No.
120 volt?
No, so the ones that I run right now, okay, so PV has some weirdness to it where you have your optimal and then your maximum voltage.
Mm.
So optimum voltage on my panels are 20 volts, but they're old and they're from Facebook Marketplace. I have 9 panels. I paid $150 for the 9 panels.
Yeah, but
And
aren't you plugging them in series to bump that voltage up?
correct. Yeah, so they go into an EcoFlow Delta 2, which has a max input voltage of 60 volts. So I should do 3S3P, but I have 3S2P, and then I have another array to charge the Delta, or no, the River 2 Pro, which only has a 50 volt inlet. But yes,
Trying to find how much mine is running at the moment.
yeah, solar's a little bit odd. So like my maximum voltage on all those is 35 volts each, but high-end solar systems, like the one I'm looking at building, our minimum MPPT voltage to even turn the converter on is 140 volts, and its maximum is in the 480 range. DC.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, the higher the voltage, the thinner the cable, because cable thickness is directly, like your conductor thickness is directly determined by how many amps. It's got nothing to do with volts. It's all about amps. And that's why your line voltage, like we have exposed above ground wiring here. Newer homes don't have it. This is how old my house is. So like the power running into my house, there's a big, we call them pole pigs because they got little squiggly tails. They're transformers. They're normally 25 kVA, so 25,000 volt amps, the better part of 20,000 watts. And they are, yeah, they're really tiny. And they go from 14,000 volts down to 240 volts, which then goes into your house and split phases. So it's positive 120, negative 120 with a center tap of 0. Yes. It's weird
I have
here.
so many questions.
It's weird here. This is how we do it, so that we have appliances that can run on 240, but everything else doesn't. Like
I just want to know what the decision was. Like, oh yeah, we have 240. Let's not use it.
I don't know, because it results in us having thicker gauge wire. So like I have my electric panels on the outside of my house, very stupid decision. But I ran a sub panel.
Well, they're better than being on the inside of the house, because then you don't get any sun. The solar panels. You said they're on the outside of the house.
My electric panel, not my solar panel, my electric panel,
Oh.
my breaker box, right? It's on the outside of my house. I needed to run a secondary line into my garage for some printers, and we had that done by an electrician. They had to use 8 gauge wire because it's so far to not have voltage.
So thick.
So we have 12 gauge that runs to a dedicated circuit in the garage currently from the panel, and my laser was tripping the GFI outlet in there because we had so much voltage drop, it thought it was shorting. We were dropping from about 118 volts on average down to 102. So it was getting rid of 16 volts worth of heat as it was bringing power. I said, I'm done with this. I'm running a dedicated 50 amp line at 240 volt to the garage. Yeah. Anyways, crazy stuff. Yeah.
But that brings us on to a very good bit. Going back to printer design, DC costs more because of wires.
Yes.
Like, hell, our heater beds are 14 gauge wire, whereas the XL with the AC power is 20 gauge.
Yep.
And 20 gauge is actually safer because it's more flexible. And when you've got repetitive movement, the thinner the wire you can get away with, within reason, is generally the better thing. You want the thinnest cores possible because it becomes more flexible. The downside is you then get work hardening over time. So you do want to like find a nice middle ground of thin enough it's flexible, thick enough that it has redundancy and safety factor for when it inevitably work hardens and one of the strands shatter. Um, and there's a nice little diagram on the internet. You can Google it. It'll tell you exactly what thickness you need versus how many repetitive motions you get. Especially if you know the bend radius, then you can work it out quite nicely. I think ours, I'm trying to remember the number off the top of my head. I think they're rated for 15 years of constant up and down 600 mil movement. If you run out of that, I will happily replace your bed for free. Because if you've done that for 15 years, 24/7, good on you.
Yeah, you know what?
You unlocked free bed
Yeah,
upgrade.
yeah, you've paid enough money and energy.
You get my condolences and I'm sorry card posted directly to you.
Yep, yep, yep. Uh, who was it? Kisker said volts go burr while amps go thunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've messed with high energy machines that when you activate them, the wires move because of electromagnetic forces.
Yep.
If you're ever at a welding shop, like a shop that they specialize in welding, watch the wires. When they go to strike the arc or something like that, you'll see the wires jump.
They twitch.
Yep.
They just.
I used to work in the car audio industry, right? And so I worked for Scar Audio. For those that want to look up that company, they're based here in Florida. I was one of their initial marketing, sales, do whatever the boss needs people. And I helped them build a Cadillac Escalade with 8 15s on 40,000 watts. And that is at 15.6 volts. I think we were running high voltage on that. So think of like you're using double aught gauge welding wire and you have a battery bank that weighs as much as most Hondas, right? Because DC just requires so much more current. And we realized that we had to zip tie the wires more because when you would turn it to 11, right? When you know you had some person with really long hair and you wanted their hair to fill the entire window on the car, you turn it up a little bit more, right? Because that's literally from the air movement in and out. You can only put 2 people in this car. Front seat, passenger, front seat driver. The rest of it was completely full of subwoofers. And yeah, it was interesting because we you could hear it right before the subs would kick on. You would hear the wires slap the box. So we had to.
That's cool.
Yeah, because you're running what 400 amps at that to get that kind of wattage. So yeah, you know, it's just insane. It's like the car audio industry and the electric vehicle drag racing industry. They're both industries where you can see the difference between DC and AC and understand it. DC is much better for, and you know the funny thing with cars is that alternators produce AC. They're then rectified to DC because your car runs on DC.
Yep.
So a lot of the electricity world doesn't make a lot of sense, and the more you like dig into it, the more you're like, why the hell do we do it this way? The answer is nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Half of it was just they made it then and they stuck with it, and that was it. There was no questioning.
Yep.
It's like even now there's still like a mega argument about should we have AC or DC power lines.
AC. Stop it, Edison. Get out of this. Tesla with the AC lines.
But DC works better over longer distances. AC is better in medium to short. DC does save a little bit of time and money in ultra long range, which would have made more sense for America.
Up the voltage more, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's basically what everyone came to.
Up the voltage more, it doesn't matter.
But there is a second thing that's coming out now. Now that fusion reactors are kind of like on the edge, and especially like nuclear direct capture, they produce DC power.
What is this communist bullshit you're talking about with these fusion reactors? Sir, we only play with clean coal here in the United States, okay? We have clean coal. Clean coal, sir. We Can we just get thorium reactors? Give me thorium reactors. They're cheap, they're efficient, they're safe. God, just
I,
if you want a
look,
rabbit
look.
hole, go down the rabbit hole. And if you need an ADHD rabbit hole, thorium. Go look up thorium nuclear reactors if you want a rabbit hole that's just going to both frustrate you and entertain you. It is, oh my god, it's so good. And you get so frustrated about it because, oh my gosh.
There's so many cool technologies that could have been built and nobody did. Like micronuclear reactors. We're starting to see them now, mostly for the military and like disaster relief side. But they're cool. Like they're inherently safe. There was one from China where they were using pellet, as in ball pellets, air cooled, not even liquid cooled, air cooled. And it's like, yeah, it physically can't fail, no
Yep.
matter what happens, because the way that it's designed, they cannot become dense enough to go wrong. I'm like, why didn't we have that?
Thorium
That's so cool.
thorium reacts, and it's temperature that you can pull power from it. In fission, it's not fusion, it's fission. But thorium, for its temperature, is cold enough that, so the big thing that caused the Chernobyl disaster that everyone thinks about is their safeties to dump the rods into the pool of water to cool them down when they went supercritical failed. And then the backup failed as well. Thorium, because those require moving parts, and those parts are never tested because no, you never want to dump rods, supercritical rods into water. It's dangerous. It's a lot less dangerous than letting the top of your plant go get blown off at Mach Jesus into the stratosphere. But thorium is so cold that you can use a plug in it of salt. When thorium goes supercritical, it gets hot enough to melt the salt, and then it just drains into a pool. There is no moving parts. It is completely safe. I love it. But because, and this is where I need some tinfoil, because there's a lot of tinfoil hat here, in that I firmly believe it is the companies behind the coal power plants and even the few nuclear plants we still have here in the United States that very much don't want this technology to become a thing, because it's cheaper, it's easier to maintain, it's inherently safer, and they would rather push the rhetoric that nuclear is dangerous because coal is more profitable for them. And ultimately, here in the United States, a publicly traded company must legally do what is in the best interest of their shareholders because they are fiduciaries, which is absolute bullshit. Anyways, there's your Grant rant for the day, and apparently
I was gonna say, like, if you didn't expect us to have a an autistic tangent onto some really fun and cool topic, you're gonna get more.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
only number one of probably 30.
Yeah, we're barely even talking about printer safety at this point.
No, we're
Which we should
talking
probably get
nuclear
back on
safety.
topic of. I'm gonna update you guys on the Cheaty Fire, since I mean, what, we're 48 minutes in. So I'm still talking with the guy, the individual. We are emailing back and forth. He did thank us for the episode. He said, "You're the only person that seems to have approached this in a meaningful way so far." He said, "You didn't
And I
point."
think it's easy to like sensationalize because the photo is
Oh, dude, it is super easy to
awful.
sensationalize. My God, like, it is so easy to sensationalize. It's not even difficult. I did read the fire report that they had. That fire report is unfortunately not the fire report that we were looking for. The fire report they provided to us was the incident report, which is the fire department's writing of what they claimed occurred. Right? So that has, in terms of like the video content itself, zero bearing on, and like, I will mention the fact that we have it, but I will also mention the fact that it doesn't matter. What's on it doesn't matter.
It's mostly a log of like the claims and what they
Correct.
identified directly then.
Yeah,
it's not really a
it is a written log of what happened according to the person that it happened to. And then the fire department adds their findings, like when they went into the building, this is what we found, onto it. They are getting there's the insurance company has hired professionals independent professionals to come in and do a whole walkthrough as well and determine it. And now, their current goal is maintaining the scene as much as possible. The individual did let me know that they have threats of being doxxed, so don't be assholes, please. Be nice. Please be nice to other people. Don't be jerks to people. Um, don't dox people. Don't be mean like
Yeah, don't
that.
do that. There's
But
a line in the sand. Don't cross it. You're
yeah,
better than that.
that threatening crosses the line as far as I'm concerned.
Mm.
But uh, so soon, TM, we're going to know more. I will do the full update for you guys in Print Fix Friday, where we hilariously have another printer fire that happened, and it's not from a cheaty this time, so there's that. But both Jacob and I were talking about this before the stream, but we both kind of agree that it's likely a wiring failure that caused this
Mm.
fire. Whether it's in the printer or in the wall, we don't know yet, but we we do believe it's a wiring related issue.
Yeah, the type of, I mean, for me, it was when he said smoke billowing out of machine.
Yeah.
If it's the bed, it wouldn't normally catch that quickly and it would fail before then. And if it was the head, it wouldn't be as extreme enough to cause a massive fire without you being able to stop it. The billowing out does imply it was like a concurrent failure. As it was failing, it was continuing to fail, which normally leads me on the same line as like what Bamboo Lab had with the wires rubbing. It's a failure that isn't stoppable. Normally that it relates to wires. It could be maybe the coating of something got caught, or there was a nick somewhere, maybe something was rubbing, maybe a wire came out of somewhere where it shouldn't have and was rubbing against something, causing arc fires. But my gut feeling, just from the sounds and obviously the absolute destruction of that building, I think it was probably some form of wiring fire. If it was in the wall of the house versus the printer, very hard to tell because I am not a fire expert. I can go, that was on fire,
Well,
and that's pretty much it.
yeah. Even a blind man could tell you that was on fire at some point. You could smell it, but yeah, I'm gonna wait for the professionals to really give us
Mm,
some knowledge there. They did do the SSR replacement themselves, so there is some potential risk there that there was something done wrong. But realistically, I'm not ready to point fingers at anybody right
mm,
now. The only thing I'm willing to say on it is it sucks that it happened. Hopefully, insurance takes care of it,
mm,
and we are not here to perpetuate any,
mm.
uh, any BS. Right? If you see me get mad at something, it's because I have evidence to be mad at it.
Yeah.
If
And
you
I
see
want to point out this type of failure can, in theory, happen to any printer. Like it
anybody, any
doesn't,
printer,
it's not a
dude,
brand, it's not a specific failure.
your
It can literally happen
toaster.
to ours, it can happen to yours, it can happen to any piece of electronic equipment that has a moving part. Like
Yeah.
these failures are almost impossible to diagnose and even harder to fix. There's mitigations, but they only go so far. Like every printer that you have bought in the last 15 years probably has the same fault when it comes to this. And there's no solution.
Nope.
And that's where safety factor comes in and all of that. But I want to stress it is not a unique to Quiddy problem just because their printer caught fire. This can literally happen with a Prusa, it can happen with a Bamboo Lab, it can happen to a Stratasys. This is just the trials and tribulations of working with machinery is it comes with inherent risk
I mean,
because it's machinery.
this could be similar to how I was getting voltage drop. If they're far away from their electrical panel and they were drawing a
Mm,
lot of current on that wall outlet for whatever reason, it dropped it enough that those wires caught the timber beams of the house on fire. I mean, those are all possibilities, right? Like I have in here a battery backup that is considerably stronger than the wall itself. My battery backup is rated for 3,000 volt amps or about 2,500 watts. That is more than my wall can put out. And that's deliberate, right? I want it to pick up any voltage issues that we have and be able to use its battery pack to deal with it. So we use pure sine wave UPSs, These are normally server pulls for reference.
Yeah.
We get older ones out of servers, um, and it works great, right? It tells us input voltage, output voltage, frequency, and everything like that. And if we drop, let's say we're running hard on the wall behind me, it'll alert me that we're dropping voltage, and it's going to opt to go to its battery for the meantime to not overload the wall, which is super, super cool. The other weird thing, my house has steel studs. We don't have wood studs. So wall fires are pretty uncommon for steel studded houses because there's not much to burn.
Mm.
But you have a bigger issue of the wiring getting stripped as it's pulled through the holes in the steel studs. So,
Swings and roundabouts. Every benefit has a drawback.
yep. Yep.
And it might be just it's more expensive, at which point that's quite a nice drawback. But some of it can be safety related. And it's very hard to make the choices, especially when you're working to a budget.
Now,
And
the nice thing will be here from this user's perspective is that if it is actually Cheaty's fault, Cheaty has publicly stated that the original SSRs were safe and these new SSRs are safe, and it is totally safe for an individual to do all of this work themselves. So they would likely have a decent claim against Cheaty. But I'm also not an attorney, so, you know.
I mean, if that was in the UK, that's a slam dunk. You win. To be honest, even if they said it was unsafe, it's still a slam dunk because it shouldn't have been released then. But I do hope it's not the printer as much as I really want it to be the printer. Because if it's the printer, we get to learn a lot and hopefully the industry bucks up the safety side. And if it's not the printer, then it's also something we can talk about. Because electrical safety is a very important factor. And we don't know if it's the printer or the wall or the house or just some, like, hell, it's America. There could have been a random bullet hit the wall and hit a wire. It has happened. Like,
you're not wrong.
What was it? It was Reddit like last night. There was somebody that was like, "Oh, I just found this shell through my window." I'm like, "Holy shit!"
Amber's grandparents had a bullet hit their house.
Yeah. Like, imagine if that hit one of your wires and just shorted out. Like, that could legitimately be a thing.
Yep.
And it means we don't know why it happened, but it means we can analyze, try to mitigate, try to improve our current safety standards, and then build up from that.
If this is the printer's fault, we are going to attempt to replicate what occurred, right? We're going to grab our thermal camera and we're going to test. We're going to test. And I'm likely going to buy another one. I don't want to spend $800 for a test, but $800 is still less than my homeowner's insurance deductible. So I'm gonna do that testing, and we're gonna rip open the back of a brand new machine plus the one that I've been inside of, and we're gonna work on it, and we're gonna determine what happened and why. I bought the thermal camera because of Cheaty, right? I spent money on a thermal camera because of Cheaty.
You might have to intentionally damage the SSR, because if it is a sporadic failure, you won't be able to just run it and wait for it to fail, because that could just be whenever. And
that's why we're gonna wait for the fire report to fully determine what happened. And that's
I mean, how I can put it in perspective. We've had one sporadic failure with our relays. Absolutely no reason. No external damage, no internal damage. It was working fine for 8 months. And then one day the leakage current just doubled. So the bed could keep heating up. And that was it. Sometimes it is out of your luck. It isn't the manufacturer's fault. It isn't the safety
you just get
fault.
a bad product. It happens.
You can just get unlucky. Like, quality assurance is not guaranteed.
The silicon lottery
is intended.
Right? Computer people talk about the silicon lottery, how they'll buy 10 CPUs of the same CPU, they'll test the overclocks, and they keep the one that overclocks the best because it is a lottery of a win or a loss. And unfortunately, it's quite the opposite when you look at safety, where 99.99% out of 100%, it's going to work just fine. But that 0.01% of a time, it is an issue,
Mm.
right? Like, and that creates the circumstances that we've seen so far. And we don't want to create unnecessary panic in this industry because we have enough issues with just the history of the ANET A8 and actually catching fire. We tried to replicate this on a machine without thermal runaway protection, and we did it outside, and the ambient airflow outside was enough to keep it from catching fire, which is just hilarious to me. And I refuse to do it indoors because I'm not stupid.
I mean, that's stupid. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
I'm not that stupid. And the roof in my garage is wood. I'm
Do
not.
you want to know something really funny? We did our flame destructive testing indoors.
Well, I mean, because the place that did it is likely indoors. No?
No.
Were you.
Before we went to the place to get certification,
Oh, you were
we
just
did
that
destructive
confident.
testing ourselves. Well, I wouldn't say we were that confident. I believe in the physics.
Yeah.
But trust but verify. So we
Yep.
we turned off 8 safeties, shorted out 2 pins. We kept trying. Unfortunately, one of the safeties kept re-engaging because it's too safe. Bloody hell. So I was literally there power cycling the machine, manually trying to like heat our heaters up to destruction. It didn't catch fire. It did smell a bit weird. Didn't
Yeah,
catch
yeah.
fire. And
The
then we
smell of the
went for
burning
the
plastic
testing.
is like that. That's the first.
But it does bring me
Something
to a good
smells
question.
funny.
Do printers have enough design safety in their material choice? So obviously we had the ANET A8, which nobody copies anymore, with the acrylic frame being a massive fire hazard, because if that starts, it's not stopping, it's not
I'm
self-extinguishing.
going to give credit
It's
where it's
basically
due.
fuel.
Bamboo's the first company that's ever taken it seriously. Theoretically, I can't test it because I don't have an H2D, but they're claiming fire retardant.
Oh,
They're claiming fire retardant. No. You have a printer with wood side panels.
self-extinguishing wood, all fully tested
Okay.
with flammability testing.
You're not a mass market 3D printer. All right.
We put a glow plug against the
Of
side
course you did.
and held it there for 40. So the testing
Fine.
jig is literally
Fine.
you hold it there, you set it on fire, or you use a Bunsen burner, you set it on fire, you pull it off, and you have to time how long it takes to stop burning, as well as what drips off.
Yes.
Because if it drips off, it fails.
Correct.
We don't even do that.
Okay, fine. Construct 3D was the first. But
There
people
we
are going to
go.
look at Bamboo, the H2D, and say they were the first. And if you want,
I
you
will
can-
give it to them. They've done a really good job. They've done a great job taking it seriously.
They're claiming fire retardant side panels. Now, we don't know what, I'm assuming it's UL94, but we don't know if it's V0, if it's V1, V2, HB, whatever. We don't know that yet. But they're the first company to advertise, fire retardant, interior panels. And that's amazing, right? That's absolutely amazing. But they're also, putting a laser inside of their machine, which has a ridiculous fire hazard. Oh, by the way, we're supposed to do this. Please, Bond Tech, we want an index. You said in your Discord that you accept begging for people that want to get on the beta. Jacob, start groveling. We're supposed to beg.
I'm trying to get the hotkey up.
We're supposed to beg Bondtech. Bondtech said they would accept begging. We're supposed to beg Bondtech. Bondtech, index, please. Please.
Is this the video? I hope this is the video.
Please, Bondtech. Please.
No, that's not the video.
That's not the video. Bondtech, we need the index.
This is the video. There we go.
Bondtech, we need the index. Bondtech, give index, please. We're supposed to grovel and we're supposed to beg. Here's your thing, and I'm clipping this and sending it to you directly.
I begged in an email.
Yeah, they literally they said in their Discord that they would accept begging, and I said, well, I guess I know what our next podcast episode's gonna be all about. I'm sorry, I had to get that one out of the way before I forgot about it.
Going back to materials then, I am not sure a lot of companies plan their product launches around the materials they use other than it looking good. Like in an electronics chamber, you should be considering what happens if a wire comes loose. What can it touch?
What can it touch?
What can it scrape against? What can it catch fire? How do we mitigate that?
Dude, so the z-axis for the +4, there's a bolt that a socket cap screw that just sticks out, and it's like I think it's an M4 or an M5 head, so it's like a lot, and that is right where the bed cable slides up against the frame.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it now. That would actually cause a fire.
It's
If
DC.
that kept rubbing, DC can still cause fire, especially if
Fair.
it shorts, because it's the arc point.
That's
And
fair.
once if the
Yeah.
do we know what the coating of the wires are? Is it just
No,
PVC?
it is inside of a jacket, so it's inside of a like a Tech Flex style
Mm.
jacketing. So I've never gone any further than that. And my Cheaty is currently in use, so I'm not going to go check it.
Because I know one consideration I had to do was what sheath do we coat our wires in?
Mhm.
Because the standard like stretchy wire fiber based plastic coating, like I think like the Prusa's have it on the back of their tool heads and everything.
Yeah.
Um, that's not rated for certain things.
No.
Like you can use it and it will be safe, but it's not self-extinguishing. So we use like I think it's a V1 PVC coat,
That's pretty good V1.
direct on it wise. It's great.
It's
Honestly,
better than
you don't.
most.
We went above and beyond, and that's only because we couldn't get V0
Yeah.
because nobody makes it.
No, not in PVC.
Or
No.
correction, nobody makes it in a affordable way that isn't more expensive than the printer itself.
Yeah,
For
I'm
one
sure
wire.
if you look at like aircraft grade wiring, you'll find it, but you
Yep.
pay aircraft grade pricing.
I mean, for all the people watching, when we went to Beaver Rail, they had a room just full of wires, and he opened it going, this room with like probably more 50 kilos of wires, maybe
Oh yeah,
100 millions, because it's
millions.
just the wire is so expensive, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
because it's safety rated.
and like from a theft standpoint, copper thieves would steal it to sell it for the raw copper value, and yet the wire itself with the sheathing on it is 10x the value of the copper that's inside
Easy.
of it. Yeah, it was a very tiny room and it had a funky smell to it because that's
Yep.
the V0 coatings on it. But yeah, I do remember that was in the part of the building we didn't film in.
No, it was a really boring part for video. Like it's cool to walk around, and it's really cool. It's like this is where we get up to, and this is the cool thing. Here's the room of wire, and it's just a room with like 40 spools
Yep.
of wire. Like you're not gonna put that on camera because it's
No.
so boring. But when he gives you a reel that's like half empty, he's like, "Yeah, that's 15 grand." I'm like, "Holy shit, that's really cool."
Yep. Yep. And those guys were a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with them.
Yeah,
The Be Real
absolutely
folks,
lovely.
Nathan and all of them. They were pretty awesome.
They have so much fun, and you can tell they love their jobs.
Yeah, it is a thing that I've noticed in visiting all these different companies with Construct 3D when we were in the UK, and then spending time over at Prusa. People in the UK and the EU are much happier at their jobs than they are in the States. Like, you know, we were Amber and I were talking about this. You know how people kind of chase money, but they're not chasing happiness, and you know how I've been chasing happiness more than I've been chasing money. And it means that I'm not taking a salary, but I'm able to do things that the traditional person that's taking a salary can't do. Right? I can hop on a plane and go visit Jacob anytime that I want. Now, I'm going to book it a month out so I can get decent tickets, and I'm going to fly the budget airline because I really don't care. You know,
Flying is supposed to suck. If you're not hating your flight, you've not
eh,
flown.
I I love flying. I think the fact that it's possible is super cool. But you know, I like to be comfortable, but on those long haul flights, even if you're in the nice seats, they still suck. Right? They still
Oh,
suck. You're still getting up and walking around, and we fly on Norse Atlantic, so they fly Dreamliners. And so they're tall enough that I can just stand up and walk around on the plane. So I'll just do laps around the plane when my legs start to hurt. It's no big deal. And just dealing with companies that are used to dealing in the UK and the EU as someone with a disability is truly amazing. In the States, it's terrible, and that's as much as I'm going down that rabbit hole of ranting.
we have legal frameworks to support disability.
Yeah,
It
we don't.
helps.
We don't. Um, Jimmy Johansson said, if I'm building my own printer, what kind of wire should I get? That's a tough one.
Whatever you can afford
Yeah.
is the easy answer. To be honest, I just go silicon most of the time.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna say,
easy, it's nice to work with. You don't if
avoid
you're
the
making it for
PVC where you
yourself,
can.
yeah, like if you're making it for yourself, you don't really care about value optimizing your wiring. Just whatever grade you need, go up on an online checker for voltage and current, and it goes, you need this grade.
And Jimmy's in
Uh,
the EU, so he can. I think he's
oh,
in the
even
EU.
better.
I know he's in Europe. I don't know if the country that he lives in is part of the EU. I believe they are. But yeah, dude, go to DigiKey,
Mm.
look it up. If you need help, there's someone in our Discord, $10 tier and higher, who happens to work at DigiKey. I'm not going to say their name because I don't know if they want that to be public, but they do work at DigiKey, and I'm certain that they would be happy to help you. Okay, so
Yeah.
he says he's in Sweden. Look, I went to American public schools. I don't know what's in the EU and what isn't. I got a good
But yeah,
education, to be clear. I'm making a joke to the public education system in the United States.
just pick whatever wire works for you.
Yeah.
To be honest, even if it's PVC, it wouldn't matter. The main thing for wiring is it flexing repeatedly? If it is, get a higher quality wire because it's more likely to foil. Try to go copper core if you're going with flexible wires. They just last longer than aluminium core. Does it matter? Not really. And I personally like silicon because it makes my hands feel nice.
I really like the silicone. It's silicone wiring, not
Oh,
silicon. Silicone, like fake boobies, not silicon, like computer chips.
well, we say silicon, like C apostrophe
Well, wait,
N,
so how
because
do
then
you-
we can
how
say
you-
both the exact same.
How do you distinguish silicone versus silicon?
Well, we don't. We just say it.
You just
and then we
assume that
do
people
it.
aren't idiots. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, half of like the English language is removing letters to the point where it's just guttural sounds with
Well,
one vowel.
Okay, we have silicon and silicone. Silicone versus silicon.
I mean, listen, silicon. It's just it's just a hard, and we do that on so many words like fridge. Like you can go fridge, or you go fridge.
Yeah,
That's just an F, an R, and a G.
Yeah,
as,
yeah.
as three individual sounds.
It really is. It really is. If you're at your own risk with a $9.99, it says, how about an automated 3D print and assembly machine, Core XY machine, fixed belt style bed, and print end can pull the part out of the printer to a robot arm assembly position. Hold on, I gotta reread that. How about
I don't think you need the
this for
robot arm.
for an automated 3D print and assembly machine? Okay, so it's something that can build a bigger part. Yeah, so you would use like a Crooked Crow or a belted V 2.4.
Yeah.
It would then go off into a chute because the belt would make you able to turn the print over faster. It would drop into a chute. You'd have a robot with machine vision on it to identify what's there.
Which is all open source, by the way, so you don't need to worry about it.
And like
don't overcomplicate
it. That's a lot of work, and I think that a person is cheaper. For the average consumer, a person is cheaper.
It entirely depends on what your end goal is. Print automation works better with lots of small printers because they're chugging so many parts. The thing that slows your printer down isn't the printer, it's the hot end.
Mm-hmm.
So more hot end equal better.
Yep.
Therefore, smaller printer equal more hot end per unit of space. That's right. Really what gives you the speed. So maybe if you've got a bank of 30 micro printers, that becomes worthwhile. In reality, like, so we've got a print farm, which I've stolen more machines from, by the way. I keep filling them up and I steal them. Where we did a job with 15 machines, and I was only going in 3 times a day.
Yeah,
like I didn't need automation. Like automation would have been nice. I could have queued them up and literally not shown up for 3 days. But I spent maybe 40 minutes of my time over those 3 days. Well, automation's a weird middle point.
The business side of it is the opportunity cost of running all of the machines and not having any availability versus only running a couple of them and having to deal with it. So I understand from the business perspective, like right now we're running parts that we could run collectively on the farm, but they all need to fit together, and I don't feel like manually going through and doing all of this. So I'll have one machine do all the work, and then we'll assemble it. It means it takes 6 days instead of 12 hours. Because like if we just turn on every printer and they do it, it would take about 12 hours. But it means that the parts are just going to fit together perfectly, and I don't have to worry about it. So.
Also, automation generally needs a very clean, ordered working space.
Yep.
That not a lot of people are used to the requirements for it. Like if you're starting to work with a cobot, with a robot arm and something, that needs to be so regimented. A lot of the time you'll look at it going, oh, it's kind of inefficient. Like so I've done some work with a lathe with an auto jaw and a cobot. And the cobot will just pick up a cube, put it in the jaw, it does a thing, pulls it out, puts it in the next thing. That's its entire job. The only benefit for that is that I could run that 24/7 and just load up a tray of 50 cubes.
It doesn't need union mandated breaks.
I don't need to do it. Yep. But a CNC is also one of the areas where I like to argue a human is also really good at, because in reality, I'm not going to be running one machine on my own. I will be running 5 machines. I will be parallel processing. And if this job is taking, let's call it 40 to 50 minutes per job, well, I'm just going to go, put the cube in, lock it. That's a 2-minute job. Walk away.
Yep.
I can do multiple machines. At which point, the cobot makes less sense.
Yep. Cobot is only good if you don't want to run 3 crews, right? That's really it. And especially when you're starting out, you can manually handle it yourself. You know, the Prusa Core 1. They're not Core 1. Friggin' AFS. God. AFS, they've got a whole robot in there. So they're mini XLs. They're a little bit smaller than the XL, and they don't have anywhere near the Z height of the XL. And all that thing does, well, okay, it does a lot. It goes through, it uses a camera to determine it using machine vision, are the prints okay? And it does this throughout the prints on every one of them. So it has a camera with a lighting system and machine vision to compare it to the STL file where it knows it's at in the G code. And if things aren't right, it can sound an alarm or alert the user and let them know. When the print is done or the print has failed, it can pull the entire build plate out, put it onto a go shelf or a no-go shelf. And the no-go shelf, you just wipe it into the trash. The go shelf, you pop the parts off, and you're good. But the way that it stores the beds are only held by the corners or by the edges. So they cool down rapidly. So the parts just fall off, basically. And then it pulls another clean bed out, puts it into the machine, and the machine automatically starts printing from there. And that, to me, is where parallel manufacturing starts to make sense. But if you're trying to then also assemble something, I would look at using an AFS because it's already well software driven. It's got its system running. And then a cobot arm on the outside of it that's able to determine what each of those parts are. But, you know, again, that's very, you know, you're talking like $180,000 to $200,000 minimum expenditure just to go down that path.
I'm lucky I've done some work for, I can't mention the company name, but if you're watching and you know who I am, your machine is still really bloody cool and I love it. Very expensive 3D printer. Like these are the ones that take up big factory floor space, and they're using platters. So they will platter eject onto a conveyor and they will just load the next platter. It's not even really a robot arm, it's just a pick and place to go from 2 positions. It's exceedingly cool. And that I see as quite beneficial because you can shrink your parts down and you can do loads and you chug them out. But it's just because you don't need people. Eventually, you want to get to a scale where you can get rid of people. And at the start, you want people. Because unless you're doing a job order of 100,000 parts, automation becomes a challenge you have to overcome, because then you have to automate 50 parts.
Short run automation, it's not worth it. Yeah, like if you're 10,000 parts or less, just pay people, right? It will be cheaper and faster to just have people do it. It is way more work to set up an automation procedure. We see this in the tech support channel of our Discord, available the $10 tier and higher. If you do want to come hang out with us in our private server, where people will spend hours automating a task that takes 10 minutes.
Yep.
But if they need to do that task 100,000 times, well, those 4 hours it took to automate it, 100% worth it. It's the same way that, like, we have a really, really nice Google Sheet. It has over 30 different variables in it for figuring out our pricing for 3D printing. And for really big jobs, I use that still. For really small jobs, I slice them like, 3-hour job, it needs a Mark III or a Mark IV. Meh, I'll give it to them for this price. If they don't like it, they'll go find someone who's cheaper. I really don't care. But if it's a big job, like one that requires, like the job I'm running right now, 10.5 kilo job, 4 prints, by the way, on a big printer. I could do multiple prints on smaller machines, but 10.5 kilos, 4 prints, you can do the math on that. I ran it through our system. And this is a client that's been a very good client to us. The system spat out a very high number. I discounted that by about 35%. I added a massive discount on there because they are using this part for internal testing only. And if they were going to be selling the part, I'll make my regular margins on it. I'll be very happy. But it is worth it because this part is massive. It would cost a ton of money normally. I would rather discount the hell out of it and tell them, hey, this is for your testing. As long as you guys don't sell it, this is what my price will be. I'm discounting heavily because I want to maintain a relationship with you. This is not the place where I want to make a bunch of profit. And their response to me was, as long as you're still making profit, we're happy. Like, works for me. I'm still making profit. We're good. And they're like, okay, then everyone's happy. I'm like, yep. And that's relationships, right? And as a business, I care more about those long-lasting relationships than I do the give me money right now. But this is the Grant who's more concerned about the end product being what he wants versus the fiduciary Grant, which is like, more money, keep money as much as possible, right? Money will come and go. But if you lose a big client because you were greedy, you've made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Make those relationships because those relationships matter a lot. Let's jump into PSU filtering versus receptacle filtering. So that could be part of what's going on here, you think, right?
Yeah, so it's something that I do personally that I don't see any other company doing until you get to the more industrial side. Mostly because industrial power is inherently dirty because there's loads of machines on the same like circuit rings.
And they load it down too, right?
Oh, they do. They really do.
When you turn a
Like,
CNC machine on, the amperage draw, woo!
you will get voltage dips like you've never seen before, and your machines are expected to ignore it and keep working no matter what.
They need big capacitors to handle that.
They are insanely over-engineered because of how dirty those rings are, and it's something I don't see being considered with 3D printers. Bear in mind, we've got motors. They're not weak motors either. Like, they're 25 to 50 watt motors. If you're running 24 volt and they're 2 amp motors, well, that's 50 watts of maximum like back EMF draw into your power supply, which you're assuming the power supply is going to save and just like filter it out, and you can't guarantee it. So one of the things that we add to our construct series is we've got a high pass EMI filter on the plug as the kettle receptacle. Then it goes to the power supply, and the power supply has its own filtering setup on the inside, rated for normally about 140% of the actual rated voltage and wattage.
Hey, you want to deal with spikes and dips. If all you're doing is dealing
deal
with dips, you're going to miss a spike, and a spike can cause just as much damage as a dip.
Yep. And hell, even now, we've got all this filtering. We've got everything else. I still, just from factory, I can hear a fan slow down when another machine starts the motors at max speed. Just ever so slightly. We're talking like just a small pitch change, but I can hear it. And we've got all that filtering. We have gold standard power supplies. We have EMI filters additional to what's included in the power supply. And I'm not seeing that on printers. And it does make me consider how many print farms have bought these printers with motors and semi-shoddy power supplies,
Yep.
and they haven't paid that little bit extra for EMI filters.
I mean, a great example. I was at an event Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, and that event we brought the Core One. My first time ever taking the Core One to an event, because it was the first event I've had since the Core One came out, and I always bring a backup battery. I always do. And in this case, it's my River 2 Pro from EcoFlow. Sponsor me, please, EcoFlow. Uh, and when it switched over from its battery to pulling from the wall, it's a contactor. That switchover time for the contactor caused the Core 1 to go into power loss detection. And I'm like, oh, I've never seen this happen before. Let's see what happens. And it picked up the print perfectly. It
Brilliant.
rehomed itself. Yeah, well, okay, there was a bit of a line. I was just printing benchies. There was a bit
You
of
will
a
always get a
line.
bit of a line.
Yeah, because it oozed a little bit and it didn't prime itself. So that's totally acceptable. The fact that it still was okay, but that the River 2 Pro is rated between 30 and 50 milliseconds switchover time.
That's quite respectable, to be fair.
Right, but UPSs are rated at 10 milliseconds switchover time.
See, I've only got an industrial one, and that's 2 seconds. That's a 2 second switchover.
2 seconds?
2 seconds.
That's a long
Though,
time.
it's supposed to switch over an entire factory complex to
Oh,
alternative power.
okay. All right, I'm like,
So it is contact.
yeah.
And
Like,
then it switches.
if I go unplug the wall behind me and the UPS takes over, you won't even perceptively notice the power dipping. You won't notice it. When we lose power in this room, the only thing you'll notice is my hair light goes away, which is the fans in this room. They turn off because they're the only thing in this room that isn't under battery backup. I have two battery backups in this room. One for the wall behind me, one for the wall in front of me. The one behind me is way bigger than the one in front of me, but it also needs to handle, 1,000-watt load constantly for hours and hours and hours. So we overbuild things. Yeah, so like that was something that I was not used to, because normally Prusa's have pretty decent capacitors in them that can handle that switchover, but the Core One doesn't. Now, Prusa's still using the same power supplies, right? The XL uses the same power supply as the Mark IV, just uses 3 of them.
I mean, power supplies are very expensive. JLo
Yep.
in the chat has also put like power supplies on many 3D printers are bare minimum.
Yes.
The one that came in Q1 looks the same on the outside as a Meanwell, but on the inside has half the components. We've experienced that. We've gone through, I think, about 8 different power supply companies before we settled on one. Where now this is the disclaimer: do not open power supplies. Not even if you know what you're doing, just don't open them.
Yep.
Ain't worth it.
Nope.
So I opened all those power supplies, and you can visibly see the lack of filtering components in a lot of the standard off-the-shelf power supplies that the 3D printing industry uses. I took them off current machines. I took them off Enders, just to find the brands, mostly, because if they work for one brand, they'll work for another brand.
Yep.
And at the end of it, we went through every single one. We then went to basically Alibaba and bought a load of industrial power supplies. We didn't even go with them. They weren't good enough. And it does worry me a bit, where technically they are power supplies they will provide power to the thing you want. But I'm not entirely certain
It's not clean power, it's not safe power.
it's not clean. It's definitely not safe. Like, so for example, we use before the sanctions, we used Morn Sun power supplies, which ironically are the same ones Bamboo Lab used.
Yep.
Keyword is used because they can't use it either if they want to sell to the UK, and if they have rebadged, bad on them because that's illegal. But I don't think they've done that. And then we moved over to Delta with a very similar style of power supply. These ones include over voltage, under voltage, spike protection, brownout protection, blackout protection,
Everything you want.
shorts, fire determination. So like they will determine if the power supply has caught fire and then break a contactor. They've got internal fans that are load sensing. They've also got what's called an RSense port, which is basically voltage monitoring, where you can plug directly into the power supply into, say, your motherboard, if your motherboard supports it, which most don't, and you can monitor the power supply input and output before it even hits the motherboard itself. So then you can actually compensate. This is the level of quality I
Yep.
expect from industrial equipment. And 3D printers, even the cheap ones, are industrial equipment in my eyes.
Yes.
Just because they're cheap doesn't mean they can skimp out on safety. And it does wind me up a bit because power supplies generally are the first and for most printers last line of defense against power anomalies. They need to survive.
Yep.
And obviously we've seen with what like Linus has been doing with the power supply testing, even PC power supplies, the ones that are quite heavily regulated and over designed, generally don't survive a lot of the testing regimes. And printers are worse. We've got moving parts. It's not just silicon sapping power. We've got motors. Motors fight back.
Back
Like in a
EMF.
power
Yep.
environment, back EMF destroys equipment.
It's why they tell you not to spin your motors when there's no power applied to it, because
Yeah.
you can really damage your motherboard doing that.
Yeah. MLV asking what sanctions. So basically Mornsun is a Chinese company. They were on the same level as Meanwell. So general across the board, very good quality, global. But they also sold to Russia for some military applications. And just for the sheer luck of it, the sanctions came in and they were like, no, they're banned. Really painful because it means we can't recycle them, we can't bin them, we can't sell them, we can't use them. They're basically sat on a shelf, and we have hundreds of power supplies, like literally tens of thousands of pounds of stock sat on a shelf, and we can't even crush them because that will be classed as using. And if we earn even a penny, even if it's free, but even if we earn a penny, instant tens of thousands of pounds worth of sanctions because we broke the sanction for fighting against Russia. And I'm like, oh great. Actually destroyed me a bit. We just settled for a contract. Now, this is the annoying thing. The contracts still have to go through.
Yep.
You can't stop a contract because
Nope.
sanctions have kicked.
You
So
you
we
have to figure it
ordered,
out.
we have to figure out. So we ordered from a UK company. Every couple of months, we would get a batch of like 100 power supplies. And the sanctions hit after we just signed the contract within days. And it still had to go through. We had 5 shipments waiting. And it was just, we had to pay. We had to pay money to take equipment we didn't need.
Yep. And couldn't
And it
use.
hurt. Couldn't use. We still got them at the moment. Now, thankfully, we talked with way too many legal people. We can now use them for internal processes only.
Yep.
And within the UK only. But we have to vet who gets them as well. So it's still hit and miss. But at least we've used 6 out of the hundreds we've got. So
It sucks. It is unfortunately part of business. I mean, we've had
yeah.
contracts that were doged recently, and it's like, oh, what about all my costs on that? Ha, sucks to be you. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
It does suck. But that is also one of the reasons why you're not going to get cheap printers if they're safe.
Yep.
Because that power supply is 78 quid if you buy it off the open market. We luckily get them at about 45 with a good deal. They were doing us an amazing deal,
Even
and now we can't use
45
them.
is a ton of
But
money.
you put 4 power supplies together, you're now more expensive than most printers. You put 1 power supply together, 1 hot end, 1 motherboard, you're more expensive than most printers, and that's not including the printer. That's just the raw components.
So traditional business case is that if you have an intermediary, whether that is Amazon, Micro Center, whatever, you need to give them margin as well. Places like Micro Center and Amazon, they want normally 50%. Right? They'll settle for a lot less with guaranteed volume. And so I'm sure Bamboo probably settles around the 20% margin with these specifically with Micro Center. That means that, let's just call it a $2,000 printer. That means Micro Center's buying it for $1,600, selling it for $2,000. Okay. Bamboo needs to make money on that $1,600. So for them to make money on it traditionally as a business, you want half. Right? So if you're going to sell it for $1,600, you don't want to spend more than $800. You'll probably push it to $1,000 if you need to, but you don't want to spend more than $800 to build it. When you're building in volume, you can often play that game a little bit, but look at everything that's coming on a $2,000 machine. There's not a lot of money left. And so what do you have to do? Like, let's look at like the FlashForge 85M, right? That's a P1P, that's a Poverty P1P. That's a $300 printer with at least $180 to $200 worth of stuff on it. There's no money left. So what do they have to do if they want to use safe components? They have to take the money from somewhere else. And so you look at value engineering, right? The P1P is a value engineered P1S. It's a P1S without the enclosure. That's how they save the money. That's the financial difference between those two machines. The P1S versus the X1 Carbon, no screen, no LiDAR. What else is it missing? I think that's really it.
I think that's mostly it. And the stupid carbon rods.
Oh, the P1S has no carbon rods?
No?
I feel like that's
I think
cheaper.
it's just steel.
I feel like that's cheaper. Don't you have? Don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the X1E.
I'm just gonna go check mine. I'm just gonna
go check it. I'm curious. Kisker says, "Poor X1E." Yeah, that was just there for the money. That was a cash grab, and it's okay.
No. It's got carbon rods.
Okay, it does have carbon rods. Okay.
To be fair, carbon rods are cheap. Aluminium rods are cheap. They're probably the exact same price.
Yep. And then you have the Centauri Carbon, $300 printer that's an X1 or it's a P1S clone, bigger, carbon, all that. How are they doing it? This is why we really need to. It's why we really need to consider the pricing that we're paying. Yes, as consumers, we want to pay as little money as possible. I get it, right? You go to Uncle Bezos and you'd say, Uncle Bezos, give me the cheapest. And you buy it because you don't give a shit. But when it comes to an appliance, which 3D printers are coming to the appliance stage, do you buy the cheapest refrigerator or do you buy the more expensive refrigerator with all the features that you want? Right? Now, I'm not saying you're going to go out and buy the Viking, right? That's like the commercial tier that's made for homes. We all want that. Don't get me wrong. Okay? We all want that, but we don't. We find a happy middle ground. And because we as consumers have been so challenged with 3D printers over the years, where they've been tools rather than they've been appliances, tools, I look at buy once, cry once. A lot of people are totally fine going to Harbor Freight, buying the socket set from Harbor Freight or Aldi or whatever your cheap tool brand is. Here in the States, we have Harbor Freight, and all their hand tools are guaranteed for life. Now, they will almost certainly break on you. Almost certainly. But you'll use them like you don't care. Oh, that socket just became a hammer. Oh, that non-impact rated socket just became an impact rated socket. I'm gonna spray paint it black. It's impact rated now. Because it's guaranteed for life. And we've come to expect that even crap quality stuff is still gonna handle the general majority of what we need to do. And 3D printers simply don't do that. In my opinion.
I mean, so MLV asked earlier when we were talking about the power supplies, is it okay for me to tell the prices? I'll go one further. Yes, it is okay for reference because I make the rules. It's my business. I can get away with it. If I was a lowly employee, probably not.
No.
But I'm going to go one further. I'm actually going to tell you the margin that we make on our machines because this tells you how much effort we put into safety because that's where most of the money has gone. We make at most 15%. So when you were saying like, oh, you're supposed to take half, we made an active decision. We'd rather take less money and put more safety in. Like from the power supplies to the filters to the fire retardant materials to the naturally non-self ignitable parts. Hell, there was one earlier from JLo asking about hot ends overheating if they fail, and then the hot end catches fire. Well, we tested our entire hot end where if it fails deadly, so the heaters stay on, what happens? How hot does it get? What is impacted? And we made active decisions to make sure all the wires in the area,
Yep.
all the shroud, everything there cannot ignite. So the only thing that is ignitable inside the hot end is the filament in the nozzle, at which point it self-extinguishes after it burns out because everything else is steel and there's just so much thermal mass it won't ever fail deadly. And that's something I'm happy to say. Like, is it a bit of business suicide to say the margin of your company, your profit?
No,
Maybe,
no, I
but
don't think it
I
is.
think it's better to be genuine. Like we don't make massive money on our machines, even though they're very expensive, because we value your safety a lot higher than our wallet. Like we use silicon wires on the wires that bend. We use triple insulated wires on the live wires. Our silicon heater pad has Kevlar reinforcement before the silicon. So if something stabs into the pad, you've still got to get through a reinforced surface before you get to the wire. And then it has to then touch something else metal, at which point we have grounding at multiple points in the frame. So if something goes wrong, there's multiple points
Yeah,
of
you
safety.
guys have multi-level redundancy, and
Yep.
to be clear, like on 3D printing, I make way more margin than I feel comfortable saying because it's a lot. We make a lot on 3D printing, but we have the skill set and the time. Like we look at like these Etsy sellers, right, that are selling 20 $20 a kilo filament for $30 printed parts, right? I take $20 a kilo filament and will not even turn on printers if I can't make $200 out of it. Like, won't even turn on the printers. Because as a business, I don't want to be crazy busy making a ton of parts, working myself to the bone for pennies on the dollar. I'd rather have high value, low volume, right? And be able to say, yeah, I can do that emergency job for you. It adds a zero. And as long as you're fine with that, and we just had a client reach out to us and say, I need this part and I need it yesterday. I said, how big is it? And they sent me the part. I'm like, that is a huge part. That is a 2.5 day print. It cannot be split. It requires the XL. Like everything about it is rough. They said, we need this yesterday. I said, what do you need it out of? What color and all that? We thankfully had it all in stock. And they said, we don't care what the price is. Just send us the bill. They are a big, big employer in the state of Florida. The part would have normally cost somewhere in the range of like 200 to 300. Yeah, I charged them almost $1,000 for it. And without question, they just paid it. They paid it before they had the part in hand, which means I could have charged more. Right? And I'm making that good money because what I'm also doing is I'm staying up late, I'm waking up early, I'm making sure that I'm turning over the spools properly. Like in the XL, while it can do rollover for the spools to the next tool head, I don't trust those tool heads are perfectly aligned, and it's not worth it to me. I'd rather wait and put a new spool in. But like, I was up until almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I cut the filament and just fed a new spool in because it was like it had like a roll, like a roll and a half left on the roll, and I'm like, I don't feel like waiting for this. Cut it, feed the new roll, and we're done, right? And there's no discernible line because from a value for me as a business, I can either keep that and use it for crap, throw it away and not care. I've made my money. It is all about the profit for me as a business. But similarly, the client that I would have charged extra thousands of dollars for, I discounted their rate quite a bit because it's for internal testing. Decide where you make your money, right? 15% margin on a $3,000 machine is not a lot of money.
Nope.
And if you were not selling good machines that didn't require hours and hours and hours of support for every single printer that went out, you'd be losing your ass on this because you'd be spending more time supporting machines than you would be building them. We saw a thing earlier. Someone was asking, now with the tariffs and the increased prices on the Bamboo, will that bring Construct 3D more into the mainstream? And someone replied to it and said, no. Construct 3D could not handle being in the mainstream. It would kill them. And that's correct. Your company,
You're right.
your company would fail if instantly it was thrust into the limelight and you got an order for even 500 printers. It'd be over. Because it would take you,
like
it would take you
so
Prusa
much.
XL timeline to deliver that.
Yeah, we've done so much to optimize how to build machines that thankfully we can do let's call it like surge sales. I don't know what the exact term is, but let's call it surge sales. Like if it so happened I can give people that engineering bible from what you've seen in the video tour walk around and go, you have this station. Every printer you make is from this station only. Here is the bible. Read it front and back. Follow the steps. And we can, at a push, maybe make per person 100 machines a year. And that is a really good number, to be fair.
That's a great number.
But if we get a huge order, it's not the people. Manpower isn't the big thing. It's cash flow.
Yep.
We can't just order 500 parts worth because we don't have the money. And even if we had the money, then there's like a 4-month wait time for them to get.
Then you have to store it somewhere.
Over. We have to store it. That would be not necessarily killer, but it would require some phone calls going, hey, this is what we're going to do to make it possible. And that's also one of the good things about starting your own business is you get to plan how you want to do the business. Now, I always wanted high value, low quantity, grow it naturally. Like nobody made Prusa overnight, except Bamboo Lab. We don't talk about
that. But Bamboo did it with millions of dollars of funding from IDG
and
Capital.
They went in with the intent, we're going to be this scale.
Yeah. Bamboo's story that it was started by a couple of guys in a garage, Dr. Tao, Apple style, is bullshit. It is. They had millions of dollars of funding from IDG Capital. This is all public information because it was such a high number that it has to be public information, right? They are funded by the world's second largest venture capital firm. I think BlackRock is literally the only one that goes above them. And like, there's levels of ridiculous money, and they sold the story that they were this tiny little startup. They had millions of machines ready to ship. Millions. They were Bamboo is the success story of completely pulling the pillow over the head of the consumer, but they actually shipped a decent product.
Yep. And I've got to give it to them. They did a good job.
Yep.
I will be 100% truthful. They did a great job, but we're not that. We will never be, let's make hundreds of printers a week. We want to be the one that does it correctly first time.
High volume,
part of that was also being aware.
Or sorry.
It was also being aware. Yeah, wrong way. Don't do that. Don't do that to me.
High value, low volume. That's what you want.
There you go.
And everyone does
part of that was also being aware we are new, and being new has problems. Like imagine all the testing we did, because we've done shit tons of testing. Imagine if we got to the last stage and they found a fault, something that needs change. How do you go and change that? Well, if you've set your entire factory up to mass produce,
if you're like Chidi, you say
you don't change it, you lie, and you go, we're going to production anyway. And the worst bit is we've had that advice. We've had people come to us, even like for their own products, and been, we're just signing the document saying it's safe and we're shipping. Because that's how we earn the money, and we'll silently change it after 10,000 units. We can't do that.
I always question if the original Chidi SSR was like that, but from my understanding, from like anecdotal discussions with other people, the team at Chidi is like 20 people. It's really, really tiny. They're not
They do a lot of good work to make that happen.
Right. But because they have so few people, they likely, from what we can determine, didn't do 120 volt testing.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because their SSR at 240 volt was totally fine.
Fine.
Because
Perfectly
it's
fine.
a quarter of the power. Right? And it's a lot less amperage. So yeah. JLo says Cheaty is a mech e-firm. They completely outsource the electronics. I'm going to need a citation.
I can see that.
I'm going to need a citation for that. JLo, if you have a citation for that, either DM it to me on Discord at 3D Musketeers or email it, YouTube at 3dmusketeers.com. I'm not saying that you're lying, but I need a citation for that to be able to repeat that in a meaningful way.
I can see it because their hardware massively outclasses some of the electronic decisions.
Yep.
But citation required.
Yeah, citation required.
Especially when it comes to this sort of stuff, like citation required.
Yeah, and they're saying that their supplier assured them that the Q1 SSR would be acceptable for the P4. That's fine. They're welcome to bring in a off-the-shelf SSR board, right? Most freaking Construct brings in off-the-shelf SSRs. They're not. Very few companies are vertically integrated like Prusa that manufacture their own effing boards, which we've shown you. We've shown you how they do it. We've shown you the actual production lines where the boards from Prusa are made. I was going to say no company. Very few companies do that. I would assume Bamboo doesn't do it. I would assume that Creality does do it. Because the only way that you can get your costs down are by controlling your exterior variables. If you can control, and like Prusa buys Delta power supplies, to be clear, right? They don't even lie about it. Friggin' Delta power supplies. But if you control the variables for manufacturing your motherboards, assuming you don't just use like a Duet, like an off-the-shelf board, if you control those variables, you control the quality of it. Period. End of story. And as a manufacturer, if you've had a lot of issues with a certain component having failure rates, it behooves you to look at what it takes to in-house that production. Because if you're seeing a high failure rate from a supplier, there becomes a certain point where your reject rate starts to become a level of effort, we'll do it ourselves. Right? So from a safety standpoint, motherboards, circuits, SSRs, whatever, if you see a high enough failure rate in testing, God, do not wait for your users
to do
your
test
testing.
live.
Yeah.
Do not test live.
Especially live components, right? If you see a high enough failure, it does become a certain level of effort, we'll just do it live. You can only, or effort will do it in-house. You can only change things so many times before you are so upside down in the machine before before it's not financially feasible, right? And Hot Tuna says the Centauri did that, and yeah, a lot of these cheaper printers are going to be we'll do it live, and you as the user should know that when you're pre-ordering a machine, it's because you're the beta tester, and I hate that. I hate it. And yes, SoundSpark Delta is one of the better PSU brands. I do want to point something out. Mahendra said, didn't realize this was live. Yes, it's live. Thanks for talking about printer. Good content, no content like this besides some from the Melt Zone podcast. Oh, that's, is that Stefan and...
That's Stefan and Tom.
Tom, yeah. Great to listen while working on 3D printer builds. Yeah. See, when we'll call people out when they're like, oh, I didn't realize this was live. Yeah, it's live, and I'm saying your name on the channel. By the way, we should probably go to the billing department. Huge thank you to all of our channel member supporters. Thank you to what you all do. If you do want to support the efforts that we do here on the channel, you could do so by joining for as little as $1 a month. Find the platforms linked down below. If you want to pick up some awesome merch, theoretically, it's on the product shelf. I might not have done that right, but it's 3dmstore.com, like ldtstore.com, but I actually own 3dmstore.com. You can pick yourself up some awesome shirts now available. Jacob, I need to get you some shirts. Don't buy shirts.
Yeah.
I will send you some.
Also, it's not on the product shelf. I just looked.
Oh, shit. Well, let's, here, I can tag products this way. Save products, stores, my store, apply. Give me a second. I can do this live. Hold on. There's a Prussia Mafia shirt.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
a
putting
long
in the
cat
chat the
shirt.
link. There we go.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there you go. No, put them to 3dmstore.com, Jacob. Send them to the actual store.
I don't have the link at hand. I just quickly copy paste.
3dmstore.com. Here, theoretically, if you refresh, it should work.
I'm gonna check that.
And here, we'll pin. I want to see if I pin a product.
There you go.
There you go. Shop.3dmusketeers.com. That's good too. Can I pin multiple products? No, I can pin one product at a time. All right, so I'm gonna pin the long cat shirt. So yeah, if you do want to pick up some shirts, you can. And if you are a part of our Discord, which is at the $10 tier and higher, there is a dedicated discount code just for the Discord, which will save you some cash on buying that. Huge thank you to Construct 3D for sponsoring this podcast. They are the UK's fastest 3D printers, which you can get at a pretty decent price for a printer with so much safety, of which you've heard a ton about and are still going to hear more about as we continue on with the show. If you really expected these shows to be 2 hours or less, you have come to the wrong show. You've got the Lord lectures and the Grant rants. You've come to the wrong show. And if you want to see the tour of Construct 3D that we at 3D Musketeers did, you can go check it out. You got yours truly and Jacob doing the MTV Crib style tour of Construct 3D, which Jacob is very proud of. Actually has more views than our tour of Prussia.
Yes! Oh, suck it!
Yeah. Means I just got to do a cooler tour at Prussia now, and then I got to do a cooler tour at Construct. And a huge thank you to our filament sponsor, Printed Solid, who's linked in the description and in the pinned chat message. So if you do want to enter to win some awesome Printed Solid filament, you can do so. And this brings me to a couple of things. We are actively seeking sponsors for the podcast outside of the ones we currently have. If you would like to get your company, channel, whatever listed as a sponsor for this podcast, you can reach out to us, YouTube at 3dmusketeers.com, and we can discuss what that looks like. This can include where we do giveaways for your products. It can include shout outs. If you have merch, we'll wear your merch, things like that on the show to help support you and what you do at your company. And we are also looking for a director of corporate sponsors. So if you have I don't know, if you have some sales experience, you know how to work with big companies to obtain sponsorships, we would love to hear from you. You can reach out to us again at YouTube at 3dmusketeers.com. Send us a resume. We'll set up some interviews and we can discuss bringing you on to help us raise money for this channel and the content that we produce here, because it is a lot of time on all of this. So, yeah.
Yeah.
F said, this just struck me. I'm watching from the EU, which means Jacob's stream goes to Florida first, then comes back. Yes, but it gets even crazier. It goes to me first, then it goes to YouTube, then it's from YouTube to you. Right? So it's a fair bit.
And that's why my image is so crunchy.
Yeah,
it gets compressed 3 times.
It's a little crunchy. I'm sorry. There's
not much. I'll get a new camera. I'll get a new camera. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I might steal. So I bought my mum a great camera. She's got a Logitech StreamCam 4K. I might just steal that.
No.
She'll hate me.
No.
More than she already does.
We'll find you something. Check Facebook Marketplace, of course. Like the Elgato face cam, I think, is a great camera for the money. It's what I use as my moving camera out on the set. I have a Sony RX100 Gen 3. Those are way too expensive, but they're nice cameras. Sony A6000 is a great camera, although you are a Panasonic guy, so look for an older, like, Lumix G4, right, or G3.
As long as I can use L-mount, I'm happy with L-mount.
Yep.
To put the glass for most L-mount lenses, really nice. Gotta hand it to them. I didn't think I'll be a fanboy when it comes to camera tech. I'm a Lumix stan, straight up, just every single time.
Yep.
Straight up. I just love it.
So JLo actually is leading us into what our next topic was already slated to be, which is fire safety in an emergency. Things like the Wham Bam Cloud and fire extinguishers from the perspective of a 3D printing business owner, me, and from the industrial manufacturer of 3D printers, Jacob at Construct. So, let's first talk about these emergency fire suppression systems, the automatic fire suppression systems like the Wham
Mm.
Bam Puck, these generic ones you can get on Amazon, blaze cut systems. Jacob, how do you feel about them?
I don't think they should be used because I don't think it should get to that state. I think that's the obvious answer is you shouldn't need to be considering a fire puck if you designed your machine correctly in the first place.
Yep.
Now, am I saying don't have a fire puck? God, no. Have fire protection just in case. If you never use it, even better. But the machine, from a designer perspective, should not be in a position where you are like, oh, this might go wrong badly. If it comes to relays, there should be some form of backup, or so for an SSR for the bed, there should be a thermal switch. So even if the SSR fails, the switch cuts out and then it kills the system. There's no risk of fire. You can go a bit further. So this is more common on industrial machinery. Specifically, I think Stratasys does actually have this, and I will praise them to high heaven. They have physical contactor relays
Yes.
that will cut certain circuits if a fault state is determined. So
Yep.
even if your SSR fails and your thermal fuse switches, the relay will break the live circuit to that component.
Yep.
The other way is you can have two relays in series. So if one fails, you've still got control with the other because it needs both to fail to go wrong.
That could work. That could work.
It's a bit lazy. You can get issues with that. But for me personally, it's what is the failure risk? If it's dangerous and deadly, make it less dangerous and deadly. Put one contingency, one passive, and one active. If you've got a passive, so in this case for us, it's a heatsink because that's the reason it will fail. So put the heatsink on. If it's an active, it's the thermal fuse. And then you can go one further and have a thermal bolt. So if it gets really bad, which is what we're doing with our Construct 2 series, it will physically blow the bolt, cutting power to the entire machine. You can be lazier. You can put in a digital relay directly in the plug, so the plug turns off, and that can work. And then there's other aspects. So
Yep.
The material it's on. If the material can catch fire, maybe don't do that. Don't put things that can catch fire around things that can catch fire. I hate that I have to say that out loud, but it has to be said.
It's the truth.
Consider using V0 materials. If
Yep.
it's an electrical fault, have some form of fuse built into the switch. That's actually one I don't see a lot in printers.
Yep. Not a lot of
Fuses
fusing.
in the receptacle. Like, we're lucky in the UK, all our plugs have fuses. And we rate them for the amount of power that the printer is expected to
Yep,
draw,
we don't have it in the
plus
States.
15%. Then we've got, obviously, our fuse box, which helps on top of that. But the receptacle should also have its own fuse. If it starts drawing more and the plug doesn't have one and the RFI in your fuse box doesn't work, you should still have a last line of defense of drawing too much power. I have blown fuses in our receptacles because I did a stupid and I touched live contacts to each other. It saved me. It saved my machine.
Yep.
All I had to do was pull a fuse out, put a new one in, and it's good to go. But these are probably the most important things.
Yeah.
Like, a fire puck is a contingency of contingencies.
Yeah, a fire
And
puck. There's already a fire.
Yeah, and a fire puck is not a solution. It is a band-aid. So
it is a band-aid on a hemorrhage, to be clear.
Yeah.
Right.
A fire puck will put a fire out, depending on which one you buy. You can get powder, you can get CO2 dumping, you can get mixtures, you can get foam exploders. I didn't know they were a thing until recently, where they just dump foam.
Don't do that.
Don't get them. Not worth it. It'll make more problems. But the bit from I see is, let's say it's an electrical fire. Let's say it's the Quiddy, and it was a wire fault. Your little puck explodes. Congrats, you've put the fire out for 30 seconds because the power is still running.
Still going.
Therefore, it will reignite the moment that there's oxygen back in the system.
Yeah.
You don't even need oxygen for some types of fires because they're self-igniting. So if it's acrylic,
and self-oxidizing.
You can't put acrylic fires out. Like, to put one out, you need to smother it in water and then hope, because it burns. It's a fuel source.
Yep.
So I like I like the idea of some form of, oh yes, we've got an explosive little fire suppressant. In reality, what would be better is a smart switch, where if it reads a temperature, it turns the switch off. That would do a lot better. If it's an enclosed printer, make the panels out of polypropylene instead of acrylic, or polycarbonate instead of acrylic. So they are self-extinguishing, they can contain higher temperature. Or
Polycarbonate
glass.
naturally is not self-extinguishing. You have to
Isn't it?
get
I thought
no,
it was.
no.
Oh, I'm just buying the good stuff then.
Yeah, yeah. So polycarbonate burns very similarly to acrylic.
Oh,
Yeah. So you
get
have to get FR rated.
self-extinguishing
You have to
polycarbonate.
get FR rated PC for that to work.
That would explain why mine
Yeah.
smells awful whenever I cut it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I just thought that
acrylic
was
also smells
polycarbonate.
awful, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's a good awful. It burns the
Jesus
throat.
Christ. Yeah. So the first off, we got a donation, and I need to. That's a
Oh,
funny one. For $20 from Shane Christensen says, I want this donation to be used to create an animated Devil and Angel cartoon, versions of Jacob to be implemented on each shoulder of Grant during the stream. I know what animators cost, and we will put that towards said fund, but that fund is a very deep fund that will need to cost us. And that also includes a better computer for me to run those kind of animations. But yes, very funny. Yes, we get Angel Jacob and Evil Jacob at the same time.
Angel Jacob is don't burn the thing. Devil Jacob is but the burn smells good.
Burn
The
it, cancer
sets my
smells
neurons
good.
on.
So I've been doing a lot of research on lithium battery fire suppression recently because we do have a battery sponsor. You guys will see videos on them probably in a couple of months. I'm still learning about fire suppression for lithium. And, lithium has particular issues where it gets very spicy and it is self-oxidizing. So really the only way that you can contain lithium fires is by physically cooling it down, right? So I was researching, I'm like, well, all right, blaze cut is what you use for 3D printers, right? So Prusa has enclosures with blaze cut solutions in them. Blaze cut is totally different from pretty much every other automatic fire suppression system that I've ever seen. Now, I know this because I called them. And I called them at 10 o'clock at night Eastern Standard Time. Because BlazeCut only has one public phone number, and that is to their Australian division, where they are headquartered. And I found out that on Google Voice, I can call Australia for a penny a minute. So I spent literally 50 cents to call BlazeCut, and I was chatting with them for a long time. And in fact, I'm going to give I'm going to give my guy there a shout out. Tim, right? Yes, Tim. You are an absolute madman. You are amazing. You are the most helpful individual I have ever spoken to about fire suppression. We had an almost hour-long conversation about it, and Tim said, I'm going to be really frank with you. Our systems will not stop a lithium fire. He said, but the cool thing is our system will trigger way earlier than others will, and it can likely stop the batteries from thermally running away. He said the trick with lithium batteries and 3D printers in general is that they thermally run away. There will be signs before they catch fire. And if you can determine what those signs are and have a suppression system that kicks in to cool everything down before it gets to a point of no return, you can actually go back into the safe zone again. And that's where BlazeCut comes in. Their trigger is 105 degrees Celsius. That's it.
That's really low.
That's it.
That's good. That's sensitive.
All the other lithium fire suppression systems that I've been looking at, so like we're going to build a DIY battery. We're going to show you guys how to build a DIY lithium iron phosphate battery. Not lithium polymer, not lithium ion, lithium iron phosphate. LiFePO4. Lithium iron phosphate. The lithium iron phosphate is inherently safe. You can stab it. You can shoot it. It does not catch fire. It catches fire when it gets too hot and it thermally runs away. The UL listed batteries from EG4 and Tesla Powerwalls, they have fire suppression systems in them that trigger at 175 degrees Celsius. And these are powder-based. So these dump fire suppression onto your batteries that basically keep the fire from getting too large. They don't stop the fire, they contain the fire, right? So Blaze Cut's like, why don't you just use both systems? They're like, use our system, put the known UL listed system in there too. And he said, do they make Fireball? He said, actually, yes. There is a company called Cell Block EX. Look them up. Cell Block EX, spelled exactly the way you would expect, that makes lithium fire blankets for cars that are rated to 70 minutes of burn time.
That's really good.
They gave up after 70 minutes because the fire department got bored of waiting to put the fire out.
That would have stopped me getting burns on my legs, for reference.
Yeah. So we're looking at a triple redundant fire suppression system. A fire blanket that's available in the room, because when the Blaze Cut system goes off, I'm instantly putting the fire blanket over the battery, right? If the Blaze Cut system saves it, great. The blanket wasn't needed. But if it doesn't save it, the blanket's needed. I'm looking at this of how can we be safer. Blaze Cut, to me, is different than all the other automated fire suppression systems that I've seen. The Wham Bam Cloud, these automated pucks that you find for like stoves, like ranges, those all require active flames to be touching it. The Wham Bam Cloud is stupid simple, but that's why they're difficult to keep in stock. It's an explosive surrounded by ABC fire extinguisher media. That's all it is. It's a little firecracker, basically, with ABC fire extinguisher media around it. So when flames touch it and it catches fire, boom, right? The explosion sends powder everywhere, covering everything in the vicinity, and theoretically puts out the fire.
And I would also argue it might not be the best decision depending on the type of machine you have.
Yeah, so the ABC
putting an explosive inside a thing that's on fire, and it can't contain the explosion.
Could spread the fire.
You can just make a Molotov out of your printer.
It's a very slight explosion. They've tested it. It's safe. They've literally set a wood box on fire with a puck in it. Yeah. Wham Bam has
I've only seen the bigger ones, like the ones that are like football size.
Oh no, these are like that big.
Oh, they're cute. Yeah, I've only seen football-sized ones, and they've got a kick. And like they will put holes in drywall.
To be clear, I have clouds. We use them, right? They're above the machines on the shelves. But they are an absolute last line of defense. If my fire extinguishers don't work for whatever reason or they're not enough, the cloud it's just there to make me feel better. We are going to look at a full Blaze Cut solution here in the shop because talking with Blaze Cut, one, they want to do content, which is super awesome. I'm excited for that. Two, they have already invited us to their factory to see how they're made. They're made in Slovakia, cool. So the next time we go to Prague, we will likely go to Slovakia for a couple of days and film with Blaze Cut. So that they're totally cool with opening their doors and showing how they make what they do, which immediately tells you that they trust in their process. They immediately trust in their process. They're not cheap, right? So for a 60 kilowatt hour battery array, it runs a 27U rack size. They recommended the 5-meter Blaze Cut solution and just like wrap it around things. They said just go around everything. And they then recommended the 0.5-meter long T-series Blaze Cuts inside of each of the battery enclosures, right? So you have the initial one that hopefully cools it down, and if it doesn't, you have the big one.
That makes sense.
I firmly believe in this for printers as well. Have a small one, and then a big one. And the Blaze Cut, it's like $800 for the 5-meter. It's nothing.
That's not bad.
That's
nothing. Actually not bad. That's something that at the industrial scale, you can get a lot cheaper, and it will make it easier.
Each of these 15 kilowatt hour battery packs that I want to build, I only have one. They're over $2,000. Just the batteries alone are over $2,000. So, big deal. Thanks to Bass and Green for sending me those batteries. But, like, it's a big deal to do it right. And this is why we haven't done this video yet, because I want to figure this out. And this has also taken me down the step because Tim, freaking Tim, absolute genius, happens to also be the guy that worked on the Prusa mini enclosure for Prusa.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I didn't have to explain to him anything about 3D printing. The dude already knew. Absolutely brilliant. And was one of the most productive phone calls I've had in a few weeks. Just like since I got off the phone at 11 o'clock at night and said, that was worth every penny of my time, my money, and everything that went into that phone call. Not just because they want to work with us, but mainly because we were able to get all these questions answered by an industry expert that knew it. And I told myself, I don't really care what it costs. That level of customer service makes it worthwhile to me. So from a print farm perspective, we have at least double redundant systems here. We have triple redundant for the most part. I've got a fire blanket that sits over here in a case. You can pull it out, dump it over a machine. We have wham bam clouds over the machines, and then I have 2 5-pound fire extinguisher bottles and 2, I think they're 2-pound fire extinguisher. They're just ABC. I understand we're not looking at the higher classes. I don't have the CO2 ones. In my opinion, if a fire's already started, that machine is a write-off, and I don't care what happens to it. The machine next to it is probably a write-off, and I don't care what happens to it. Ultimately, as a business, I don't care about the cost of the machines. I care about the cost of the data, of the building, of the people, right? I care about that more than Dude, $1,000 machine, yeet it. I don't care.
Yep.
Don't care about it, right? I understand that that might come off as very like, oh, look at Mr. Moneybags over here. No, it's not. It's a safety thing, right? It's why you're not going to see us use $300 printers on our print farm. While they might work, I need the confidence that I get out of Prusa, that I would get out of Construct 3D and others, to know that they've gone through levels of testing that I wouldn't even think about. It is business insurance that isn't business insurance.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. FSA's Slovak company with an Australian phone support. So they've got offices all over the world. But the only one that has an actual phone number is their headquarters, which is in Australia. And the big thing that I like about talking with Aussies, they tell it to you real. They don't bullshit you, right? He was very frank, very forward, very honest, forthcoming, everything you would want out of what you would hope is a subject matter expert. And all of that matters to me as a business. And I don't, like, if any of these companies, so like I had someone figure out the real fire suppression units that are used inside of EG4 batteries, and I contacted the manufacturer. This manufacturer emails me basically every 18 hours, asking how many I want to order. And they've done it like 6 times. I have their WhatsApp number. I texted them. They have not gotten back to me with anything other than asking me how many I want to order and which ones I want to order. I want customer support, right? I want to know that things are going to be safe.
It doesn't fill you with confidence if
Right.
the only thing they're gunning for is a sale.
I want to be
In
filled
reality,
with confidence.
you trust companies that will openly tell you,
Yep.
this will not do this, this will do this.
And while blaze cut solutions are expensive, I think Printed Solid sells them. Let me make sure. I'm pretty certain they do.
Well, while you're looking for that, Kiska asked, what
Yes, they
fire
do.
extinguisher would you recommend? That question, what fire extinguisher would you recommend?
ABC.
ABC's good, but in reality, don't ask YouTube. Ask your local fire department. They'll
Yep.
be more than happy to sit down, hear exactly what you're doing, what your risk factors are, and they will then recommend you the exact types that you need,
Yep.
where you can get them from for your local area.
They might
the
even
end of the
have
day,
some to give you.
They do. I got my first one for free.
Yep.
Because they were like, hey, here it is. Thank you for talking to me.
On the house, don't call us.
Yeah. For reference, for our factory, we got CO2.
Yep.
And that's because we decided, mostly for the factory safety, we run a shoot and scoot type idea. Somebody shoots and the other person picks the machine up while being shot at with the CO2 and throws it over the side of the building, and that's it. It's a shoot and scoot.
Yep.
And then we don't have to deal with stupid powder getting into every piece of machinery that we've got that we still need to keep calibrated.
That is not technically the way the shoot and scoot goes. It's normally you spray the media, then you scoot, and that's it. But
No.
you know that is the shoot and yeet.
Yep. We are very lucky that we can literally just yeet, and it's in a completely safe concrete area that can burn as much as it wants. And it's not going to damage anything.
Yeah. Soundspark is asking if it's certified, if the cloud is certified in the US. CPSC seems pretty grouchy about fire extinguisher balls. Don't know. Don't care. It is something that I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Right? Straight up.
Yep.
That's the way I look at these things. I have never needed to do it. I have had to unplug machines. And, you know, looking at like Clipper and RepRap firmware, they both have the ability to remotely control other things, right? Clipper specifically has it built in, where with the right smart switches, Clipper can control the smart switch. So if Clipper goes into thermal runaway, it can turn off the effing power to the actual printer. Now, that does pose some risks of, you know, destroying your hot end because the filament's going to get all nasty inside of it. Who gives a shit?
Don't care.
Who cares?
If your machine is turning itself off for safety,
yep,
you've got bigger problems than your nozzle.
Yep. I look at it and say, again, I would say every single one of the 181 people that are watching, and only 91 of you have liked it. Fix that. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed either.
Let's get above 100. Get above 100 likes.
Get above 100 likes. And hey, if you do want to help keep these streams ad-free, couple of bucks donation goes a long way. Or hey, become a channel member. We're gonna have more behind the scenes content coming very soon. You know, the cost of all of this, your cost, every single one of you watching, your cost of your deductible for your homeowner's insurance, your renter's insurance, whatever it is all more expensive than just flat out replacing the 3D printer, right? I promise you. And if you're saying, oh, well, Grant, I run a shop with millions of dollars of machines. Fine. Your metal machines carry dedicated insurance policies associated with them. And you already knew that when you made that comment. So don't play with me. I'm smarter than you think.
Not that much smarter.
Not that much smarter. No. I am not smarter than I look, but I'm smarter than you think. So, Hot Tuna said, do we know if a cheaty printer that burnt everything down? We do not know if it was the machine. Nope. We are not going to speculate here. We have some ideas, but we're not going to start pointing fingers. We talked about that earlier.
We're not going to speculate. We speculated it could have been this.
Well, we're not going to immediately point fingers. We're going to come up with ideas that we think could be it, but we're not going to say this is what caused it.
The TLDR was... It's too early. It's inconclusive.
It's way too early.
There's way too many risk factors that could have gone into any fire. It could be everything from sheer unluck to hell. It could have been Bastion shipping. And it could have been the printer. It could have even been the house. We don't know.
So many
All we
things
know,
that could
something caught fire, and
now there's no
guy
printer.
Is going through a really bad time.
Yeah, now there's no printer. Now there's no shop. Because I don't think it was a house. I think it was a shop. Now there's no whatever building that was. It's gone. Right? And I don't really give a shit what caused it. I'm happy that everyone in that scenario is okay. Straight up. So,
yeah, you know, JLo with the good. It could have even just been the loose
IEC
kettle plug.
Yep.
Yeah, that can cause it. Like, just the slight resistance increase, slowly heating up the plug receptacle. It eventually fails deadly. Like, it's way too early to tell.
Yep.
The main thing that you can take away from this is this isn't a risk just to Quiddy. This can happen to any machine because it's a piece of equipment. And equipment has risk. And in this case, things that get hot and have power have the same risks.
And let's think about it. Unless you built your house yourself and wired it yourself, you have no idea the quality of the work that somebody else did. Right? Where homes in the United States, code is a ceiling. They don't go above code. For me, code is a floor. Code is an absolute floor. That is the minimum that we even look at. So like the blaze cut solution that I'm looking at is almost triple what US code is. It is double what UK code is, and it is almost double what the EU code is. The US code is 5%, UK code is 10%, and the EU code is 13%. That's how much of the oxygen in the air you need to offset. But understand, you do not want to be in the room when one of these, like, oxygen systems blows, because you have seconds to get out before all the oxygen in the room is gone, too. And I was the Nocturnus. Nocturnus, check your DMs on Discord. I sent you where you can find Wham Bam Clouds. I know someone that still has them. But Nocturnus said he'd love to see a demonstration. Get subscribed. That's all I can say. All I can say is
Duff asking, he's going to upgrade his alarm system. Should I use a heat rise detector or a smoke detector in the printer room? Worried about false positives.
Yes. Use both.
Yes. Yeah.
Use both.
Why not both?
And you know what, Duff? I would much rather have a print fail because the heat rise detector went off and killed power to the wall of printers than wait for smoke. And by the time there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I would personally, I rate heat rise over smoke detectors.
I do too.
You can't fake heat, you can fake smoke, and smoke can happen later than flame, especially depending on what's burning. You might get flame before smoke, and at which point you got big problems.
The Nocturne says he wants a demonstration of the shoot and scoot. You know what, Nocturnus? If you want to pay for the printer for us to set on fire and yeet, yeah, we'll do it.
Well, the problem is, even if we set it on fire, I wouldn't need to use the fire extinguisher. Self-extinguishing.
It's like, I could set a Construct 3D on fire, but it's going to be a really boring video because it's just going to go back out again.
So one of the plans for the Construct 2 advert video was I was going to coat the bed in petrol and set it on fire with the doors closed, the lid closed, and just, obviously we only get one real shot at it because I don't want to rebuild the printer. But I was going to then get the dolly and have the printer on fire internally, as hot as I can get it, and just show like, yo, it's fine. Doesn't matter. The inside can be burning for as long as you want. It's fine.
And that's why your printers cost as much as they do.
Yep. We finalized the door handles.
Nice.
They are 2 kilos of aluminium. Door handles. They're really nice.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
But you just raised your shipping costs by a fair bit.
Actually, we haven't. It's still under the minimum shipping weight. So we can go to 180 kilos before we start paying more for shipping because of the size of the machine. So we're probably going to put mini printers inside big printers when we ship them overseas.
Oh, we got a Czech person here. Lucas Harvan, hopefully I'm saying that name right, says, hello. Do you notice the Wonder Maker ZR Ultra 4 tool head printer? What do you think about it? Thanks. With the CZK50, what's up? Wonder Maker, that's the one that's in Kickstarter, right?
Kickstarter? Yeah, I think that's the Kickstarter one. It looks interesting. But that's pretty much all I can say. It's a Kickstarter. I generally don't like Kickstarter, which is ironic because I did a Kickstarter. If the claims are legit, then it should be okay.
Yeah.
And it's building off the shoulders of giants. It's not reinventing the wheel, which is a good thing. If it's doing something drastically new, I'd be more skeptical.
Put better tires on the car. Right?
Yeah.
Who was it? Was it Hoovie's Garage that just did a video where a PT Cruiser just absolutely destroyed an M3 around the track because he put really good tires on it and put really crap tires on the M3? Great kind of car YouTuber, Hoovie's Garage. I do quite enjoy his videos.
Good content.
You know, but I would say, and I think that this goes for any Kickstarter printer, which I guess we can talk about the one we wanted to talk about. This is a great segue into that.
Oh, this is such a good segue.
With any Kickstarter printer, under no circumstances should you be backing that with money that you cannot literally... I happen to have a wad of cash sitting here. with money that you literally can't just set on fire and burn. Because if you can't burn this money and enjoy nothing but the heat of the flame, that you are not ready for Kickstarter, because that is all Kickstarter actually is. It is setting money on fire and hoping that you stay warm from the actual flames. While I recognize that Elegoo does Kickstarters, those are safer Kickstarters. You have no guarantee that they're going to deliver. And personally, I would rather pay more money and let everyone who backed him on the Kickstarter figure it out the hard way that they just became paid beta testers.
Yep. I mean, when we did ours, we openly said, you're getting the first batch. Expect issues.
Yep.
Because we don't want to lie to people. Like, you're getting the first batch, there will be issues. I just don't like how disingenuous Kickstarter can be.
So
and
disingenuous,
if you are not
dude.
willing to understand that every claim on there is not a promise, even though they say it's a promise, it is a wish list.
Look,
they wish their machine could do this.
It's a promise if they're politicians in the US. Of them to be there. They're political promises
the
in the United
is not
States.
Much better.
Yeah. Consider a promise on Kickstarter like a political promise from one of your politicians. We all know they're lying.
Yeah. Other than the fact that don't trust a single claim on the website, it looks okay. It looks like it's borrowing from the Voron or one of the community tool changer projects on a Core XY.
Yep.
With steel frame. Like, what more can I say? It's a printer running Clipper by the looks of it. Like,
yep.
It's a printer. Like, most printers nowadays are the same.
Yeah.
Like, unless they're doing something massively better, like safety testing, for example, they're going to be the same. There's no differences between them.
Be careful with considering a machine because it's cheap, right? Like, we've literally just been talking about how much fire safety costs and doing it right costs. And I looked, the Printed Solid does not have any in stock currently, but the Blaze Cut Systems designed for a Prusa Mark IV is $130. Cheap. I understand that sounds like a lot of money, but it's a lot cheaper than your deductible. And it's a lot cheaper than a fire inspector poking around, because when the insurance company hires somebody, that person doesn't work for you. They work for the insurance company. Remember, It's the same way that, like, going to HR about a problem, HR doesn't work for you. HR works for the company. HR here works for the company. The cat works for the company. Cat doesn't work for me. I'm the second human. Amber's the favorite human. Now, the cat works for the company. Okay? They are going to do in the best interest of the insurance companies. And sure, while we're going to get answers, those are often not the answers you want. So yes, it might be cheap. I don't care if it's cheap. I get it that the average consumer wants things that are cheap, but you have to realize what you might be giving up to get cheap.
Yeah. And to be honest, if you're not willing, just wait. If it's good, they'll sell more.
Yep.
And then they'll be available.
Yep.
And all you're going to lose is maybe an extra £100 of a early bird Kickstarter special. But in reality, you're going to get a better machine because they've ironed out some of the issues that the early birds would have found. Like,
speaking of Kickstarters,
don't feel about FOMO. And talking about Kickstarters and FOMO,
Ellie Archie.
Let's talk about Ellie Archie and the Alchemist. Because I don't like it. I hate it.
They were going to send me
I'm
one.
getting more divisive on it. I'm starting to feel.
They were going to send me one right up until the point they realized and they learned that I actually know what I'm doing when it comes to high temp 3D printing.
Yeah. There is so many concern points. And there's one that I didn't realize until I remembered about 10 minutes ago. Even their motion system is not rated for the temperature that they are pushing.
90C heat chamber.
90C is hot. So bear in mind, I'm making a high temp printer. I'm making Construct 2. That is a high temp printer in my eyes. 75C max. We're even thinking about capping it without the user intervention to 65 to give it some safety headroom. Because at those temperatures, you have to worry about the softness of plastics. And do you know what they show in all their videos? A cable chain. That is not a metal cable chain. That is a glass fiber nylon cable. I hope it's a glass fiber nylon cable.
It better be, because if not, it ain't rated for those temps. That's at the top
if it's just nylon,
end. That's at the top end.
bite. Like I think glass fiber nylon is actually only rated for 85 on moving parts because it sags, and it already looks pretty saggy as it is. You get more annoying. So they've got linear rails for their x-axis. They're not rated for 60C most of the time. They're probably not buying high temp linear rails. You can push them to 70C, but you linear rails have wipers. They have plastic parts. They are going to be roughly the same temperature as glass fiber nylon.
Yep.
They will melt. They will get soft. They will lose tolerance. They will rust. Things will get bad very quick. The bloody beacon clone that they've got, because they had to reinvent the beacon once again.
Because they didn't want to pay the money for it.
Yeah, they're saying it's rated for 105 degrees. I'm going to call bullshit because that should be using an RP chip.
Their bed goes to 130.
Yeah. So I'm going to call bullshit on the probe itself being rated to that because I think it's going to be less. Even like Beacon is only rated for like 100, and that is on the borderline of safe. But their bed gets hotter. It's going to overheat that probe, and your axis is going to get down, and at worst, maybe you might damage a nozzle. But you don't want electrical faults because of heat. Heat will cause electrical faults.
And like, don't get me wrong, I like cheap high temp printers. I think they're cool. But what type of, let's go with value engineering that they've done that the Vision Miner 22 IDEX didn't and the Construct 2 won't. Right? Like what like, is it insulated? Is the printer even insulated?
Doesn't look it.
It doesn't look like it's insulated.
I think they are raw dog 90C chamber.
Like
which means you touch it, it's gonna burn.
My Cheaty at a 65C chamber, I can feel it when I walk into my office because it is so hot. I need to insulate the inside of that printer. It is so damn hot. Like there's no insulation on it at all. Why? Because F you, that's why. Because it was
David Connor in the chat has a really good point. What are the wires made of? If they're not silicon, they're not going to survive the temperature. And even more, they're in a drag chain. Drag chains need specific rated wires. Now, can you get away? Yeah, you can get away with not.
Drag chain helps.
Drag chain does help. And you can get away with no drag chain rated cabling in a drag chain. But it's just going to degrade so quick. Like that sheath is going to get soft and rub and cut in. And then you're probably going to get power where you're not supposed to get power. And that will cause a fire.
Yep.
There's just so many bits. Like there's an LED strip inside the machine.
2 of them. Why? I don't know.
When was the last time you saw high temp rated LED strips?
Never.
Never, because they don't exist. The physical phosphor coating inside the LED cannot survive at those temperatures. It doesn't exist. Like there is a reason your oven still uses a halogen lamp because LEDs will not survive. And they're putting RGB LED individually addressable
because RGB go vroom.
Like, don't get me wrong. Everything that I make electronic is RGB.
It looks cool. But what's the practical purpose of it?
There is practical for an RGB strip in a printer, but the fact it's in the chamber actually pisses me off because it shows they didn't at all. Now, I'm willing to eat my hat if they did think about it, which they probably didn't.
Gonna eat things because we still got to get you a Benchy.
Look, it's because I've not eaten yet. I'm hungry. We're back on food again. I'm
hungry too.
Oh,
I gotta go food shopping, so I'm gonna go to Costco. So I'm getting a hot dog.
I just got a HelloFresh order. You know what? I'm vibing with HelloFresh. Good portion size.
They could sponsor us.
That'd be great. I would make HelloFresh on stream. Set the
I've
camera up.
I've already reached out to HelloFresh. I said, look, I don't want any money. I just want everybody on our staff to get a HelloFresh subscription order for free. That's what I want. Yeah. I want everybody on our staff to not have to worry about where their food comes from. And in this friggin' economy, come on. And Skate Soup points it out. Hot dog first, never shop Costco hungry. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Yep.
I make so many bad decisions when I go shopping hungry. Always eat before you go shopping.
We should really do like an entire since we tangent into it, we should totally do like a random like so
Food
what are we
stream.
cooking for dinner tonight segment in the podcast. Or one day we should just set it up so we're in our kitchens and we just do the entire show in the kitchen and we're just like cooking something for fun.
You know, I would over-engineer that so much.
Oh,
I would set up so many Wi-Fi
it's
cameras so I
so
can have
much
like different
work.
scenes and walk.
It
Oh,
would
we
be
could
funny
get the
though.
new DJI tracking cam. So you can put the big camera and track you as you go around.
Yeah, but then I gotta use DJI products again.
Yeah, I know, but it's cool.
I know.
I
Their
know.
newest phone gimbal does it. Hoheim just released a phone gimbal that does it. They've got the AI tracking module on it. A lot of but like I use the Insta360 gimbal, so I have the Insta360 Flow. Yeah, the OG Flow, and you just give it hand commands, and it tracks using the phone's camera.
That's
But the
fantastic.
friggin' problem with this, and it pisses me off, is I can't go into 60 FPS on an Android phone. Doesn't matter what resolution, it doesn't go to 60 FPS on these. It doesn't work. These are fundamentally designed to work with Apple phones. And I'm like kind of regretting buying the identical phone that I have as a B-roll phone and using it as a B-roll camera, because that means I can't use the tracking functions and do 60 FPS. But
Just everyone
anyways,
commenting about how we've gone back to food. We
yeah.
are 0
Hey,
hours
hey,
from
hey.
talking about
We
food.
told you this was going to happen. In the beginning, we told you this was going to happen. Don't get mad at us for this. Don't get mad at us for this. Hottune has even the Samsung phone flip. It is a software limitation that the companies put on it.
Yeah.
Mitch L says, thank you so much, TYSM. I don't know if he means tism, like autism. Rism with the tism, if you will. But yes, it is all Android phones. I have a Samsung S20 FE. It is the last Samsung phone with upgradable storage. That's why I have it. Because I can just record to the SD card, take the SD card out, and it's way faster than pulling from the phone directly.
Yep.
But Ellie Archie, I was really excited to test this printer. Like I was really excited.
Honestly, if it works, cheap high-temp printer, we need more of.
I was really excited. I'm like, I have experience in this industry. Victoria was communicating with them. Sovil's the only company that's figured out that it's just a fake name that I use. But Ellie Archie, they ghosted me after I talked money and I talked experience. The money wasn't much. I wanted $1,000 for
That's not much.
a first look unboxing and a dedicated video showing how it works.
They're
And
getting more than $1,000 of
plus
content
materials. I told them they need to include materials. They want me to print high temp.
Materials is nothing. Yeah.
Peak.
Okay. Peak, yeah, but they should be able to source out much cheaper.
Yeah, and it's not. It's not much. They ghosted me. Then I saw that Jim from Edge of Tech had one, and I was DMing him. I'm like, I'm gonna go DM Ellie Archie, or I'm gonna reach out to Ellie Archie via email again. Oh, sorry, we're all out of review units. A month later, I see YGK and Tripod both have one. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So they weren't out of review units. They were out of review units for me. Cool. Yep. Good. So is it because I was too expensive? Or is it because I was too knowledgeable?
I think it's too knowledgeable. I honestly do, because just from the videos I've seen, so I've seen Levi's video. I've seen about 2 more after that.
YGK's video was great. His was the only one that I
YGK's was great.
I don't watch a lot of Jonathan Levi. I won't discuss why on air, but yeah, I've really been enjoying YGK. We should see if we can get YGK on the channel.
That'd be fun.
I was DMing him like, dude, you got one. I didn't know they were going with big creators. He's like, I'm smaller than you. I'm like, really? Your videos are
piss off. Nah.
He's 26,000 subscribers. That's it.
Holy shit.
His videos are way better than mine.
Hey, everyone watching.
Go
don't leave. Don't leave.
me.
Don't leave.
Yeah.
But
Don't
open
leave.
another tab, subscribe to him right now.
Yeah.
If you like any form of 3D printing content,
His
go
content's
subscribe to him.
really good.
It's so high quality.
And it's
It
filmed.
deserves the recognition.
His friggin' filming is so good. It's so good.
Mm.
Right?
But no, I think they said no because well, you would see things and then you wouldn't be able to say no because it's dangerous.
That's the internal grumbling, the behind closed doors discussions with other creators that have them. Twisker asking repeat the channel YGK3D. Just put the link in the chat.
I'm gonna get the link.
Yeah, I from what I'm hearing from everybody else, they're like, yeah, we have no experience with this. I'm like, I have kilos of Peak, Peck, and Ultem in the shop right now. But yeah, like YGK, his video on it.
Link is in the chat.
It was shot so well. His storytelling was so good, and his views absolutely show it. He's getting views like 3 to 4x his channel size, which is amazing.
It's honestly amazing. The link is in the chat. Feel free to click it. Go watch the latest video. After this, don't leave. Don't hurt our analytics.
Yeah, I would trust YGK's opinion on it.
Yep.
So,
but even in that, like, I saw issues. Like, some of it can be stupid, like they're using printed parts where there shouldn't be printed parts just for the temperature. Some of it is the fact that the LED strip will actually bake itself, which then implies they didn't think about temperature. They've set a temperature, but they haven't thought about temperature. It's little things. And then there's like, oh, there's internal Raspberry Pi components in the hot end.
They're not rated for
and
that.
I'm like, they are not even, well, how? So we've been looking at making our own motherboard. We were considering the RP 2350 and the RP 2040.
Yep.
Or 240. I can never remember if that's the right numbering, but it's those two. They're only rated for 70 to 80 degrees. So we were looking at an Amtel chip instead, rated for 105 degrees. Still not good enough. You still have to consider headroom. Like, it's all whether that's, oh, it's rated for this temperature and we're just below that. You're never going to be
factors.
at that. Yep. You need a 30-degree safety factor, like ambient temperature levels of safety factor, just to guarantee reliability. Like, and I've already said to like the designers, because I'm not an electrical engineer, I know enough to go, that's bullshit versus not enough to design a motherboard. I've said to them, hey, if the safety factor means it's not going to last 20 years, it's only going to last 2 or 5, I'm okay with that. But it has to be done in a way that's safe and easily replaceable with the assumption that it will die eventually. I don't think that they've done the thought for...
Like, it's 27.8 degrees Celsius and 46% ambient humidity. This one's solar powered, so the battery shouldn't die. I upgraded.
Part of the decision factor, because we're in the EU, is what if our machines get sent out to hotter countries? Like, if these machines get sent out to Malta or to
a buddy of ours in Morocco,
Emirates, or like anywhere that is equator, really hot, scorching, could be in your car, could be in an unair conditioned area, high humidity. To be honest, dry is worse for machinery.
Static.
Because the humidity can actually absorb more heat, whereas dry can't absorb as much heat.
It's not the heat, it's the humidity. It's how you know I'm getting older.
Humidity kills people. It saves hot equipment. It's why the desert is so bad for electric equipment. It's hot and dry. So that little bit of headroom that you've got, say your equipment's at 60 degrees and the air is at 50. If it was saturated with water, you can at least fill that little bit of headroom with more heat before it leaves, where dry, it just doesn't absorb anything.
It's fair.
So you have to consider like MCU chips, microchips, the power converters going from 24 volt to 12 or 5 volts in the head. Like, they get hotter because they're dealing with power.
Yep.
Hell, the hot end drove me insane. They've got a silicon sock on their hot end up to 450 degrees.
It's gonna burn. It's gonna burn.
It's just gonna burn.
Yeah, you're gonna burn silicon at those temperatures. You need a ceramic Uh, sock, basically.
Yeah. And they don't care. They're just like, well, yeah, we put a silicon sock in, goes high temp. Yeah, it works at high temp, but it doesn't.
It's gonna burn and
Like,
off gas some nasty shit.
I could tomorrow, if I really wanted to. It's not even lying through my teeth. It's doing what they've probably done with their marketing spec. Construct 2, 105-degree chamber. It can go 600 millimeters per second at 500 cubic millimeters of flow because I'm just cranking the temperature up to maximum. And technically, I can do
All
it
flow
on one
PLA at
test.
450 C.
Yeah. Like, I could fill the melt chamber with 100% pre-molten ABS just so I could just go, and that's it. That's the number. I made it up on the spot, but there you go. I could do that, and I would be in the same realm of sensibility as what they're doing here. And it's just not genuine. Like, if you're
Nope.
printing at 95C, and that's wherever the temperature sensor is measuring 95C, the top of the chamber will be hotter than that sensor. I hope that sensor's on the heat output of the heater, not of the chamber.
Cheaty
But I
does
don't believe that
theirs.
either.
Cheaty's does their chamber temperature sensor at basically where the nozzle is.
That is okay, because that's where the electronics for the head is.
But at the same time,
Still,
dude,
there's going to be a hotter bit at the top.
I don't know. So hear me out.
2 degrees on average. 2 degrees.
But
that's still hotter.
They've got a chamber fan.
Yeah, still collects.
It's
Just
still
a bit. You get a slower air curtain. So the closer you get to a wall, the slower the air moves.
Okay,
So the
fair.
air's more moving in the center.
I'm arguing with
It's
someone
not
that's done the
much.
testing. Like I'm arguing with
Viscous
the
airflow
guy
simulation.
with the guy that can bring the actual results. Right? I should check to see if we did get that email. By the way, I don't know if we did.
This is why I bought a thermal camera, like big thermal camera, just so I can prove the science. But it winds me up. It honestly does. And for anyone that might think that the heating element might be hotter than the air temperature, no. The air will collect that heat more than the element itself can give out. So we've got a sensor direct on the exhaust temperature of the element. That only reads 60 degrees half the time, but the air temperature is 75.
How?
Weird math.
Okay.
I honestly don't understand it myself.
I'm accepting of the answer weird math because
I don't understand it. But we can measure the temperature of the air exiting and then the temperature at the top of the chamber. Top of the chamber is hotter.
You want to talk about stupid design decisions?
Oh, go on.
The
I love stupid
+4,
design decisions.
I think it's 260. So the +4 cannot print its entire build height. Because the last 20 millimeters.
What?
Yep. Hold on. If you're using the heated chamber, you cannot print the last 20 millimeters of your build height.
Why?
Because the build plate will block the heater. And the printer will go into thermal runaway because the chamber cools down.
Wait, are they exhausting out the bottom?
Yeah, so the fan system comes out and then it blows air across. So think of it like
Okay, no, I'm going on a tangent. Stupid design.
it's a really dumb design.
If your fan fails, your fan will catch fire. You want everything that fails to passively vent upwards. That is why heat rises. Don't throw heat down.
Yep.
It's going to rise. If your fan stops chugging air, you're going to just be slowly cooking everything above it. And there's a fan there, not a vent. You want a vent. Oh my God. I didn't know that. That's so much worse than I thought.
Well, and when the build plate goes low enough, it blocks the outlet of it. So I think it was a YGK that did it. It was a YouTuber that redesigned and it's on printables if you want to check it real quick. They redesigned the enclosure for it so it blows out the side, like parallel with the parallel with the Y-axis rather than parallel with the X-axis.
Oh, that's another thing. Talking about fans, you can barely get high temperature fans, and they've got 120 32 mil fans on the sides. They are not rated for the temperature, like at all. Like even the ones we're adding in Construct 2, we're cutting it close. But that's why we won't go hotter than our temperature target, because we cannot get fans at any price point that is worth doing at those temperature requirements.
It's like they're taking a chance that you can make your money back on the machine before parts start to fail, so you won't be
Yeah.
pissed off that parts started to fail. And that's
I
that's a difficult business practice.
it does wind me up. People are going to buy this. They're either going to get hurt or the machine's going to die. They're going to feel like they've
Oh, Nazi
wasted their
Works.
money.
Nazi Works did the remodel. I want to get that. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Want to get that right. It was Nazi Works. Thank you,
Good.
Mitch.
But
Carry
yeah,
on.
I just I got into this industry because people deserve better equipment. They
Yep.
deserve better machinery. They deserve not to be fleeced, nickel and dimed, lied to with fake marketing bullshit.
And what's happening? We're getting
And we're
fleeced, we're
just getting
getting
more of
lied
it.
to, and we're getting fake marketing bullshit. And the only companies that don't do it, arguably, Prussia's even doing some of it to some extent, right? They say that the Core One has active chamber temperature control. They're not technically wrong.
They're not wrong. And I'm more
They're not
than
technically
willing
wrong.
to give that as the word active, because active control doesn't mean active heating.
Correct. But the assumption is that people believe
It
that
does
it's
both.
active heater. And so it's a little it's look, you're not below the belt, you're at the belt. You can't go lower. Right? Where
Yeah.
you guys at Construct, you're like, no, we're gonna tell you the real numbers. And like that was the only time where I've ever been like, come on, Prusia. Come on. And then I guess like for the XL, right? The XL's fans were designed for non-input shaping.
Yeah.
And now with input shaping, the cooling on the XL is just, it's not appropriate. It's not enough. And that's where Ben from In Phase Industries, IPIND 3D over on Printables, he has done a full rework of the fan system on the XL.
I still stand by it. We deserve, as a community, slower machines.
Yeah.
Like that everyone's trying to scrape sub 10-minute benchies or 12-minute benchies. I'm like,
They're cool.
you don't care. It's nice, but you're sacrificing so much just for a slightly faster print. And even then, you're not actually printing faster, because most of the time when they're like, oh yeah, we
You're
print a benchy
flow
in this
rate
speed,
limited.
you're flow rate limited. A benchy isn't flow rate limited because it's slowing down all the time. Like to go around every corner, it melts a bit more plastic in the chamber, and it's got basically a battery worth of liquid plastic to eat through, which one layer generally is about the same as a volcano style melt chamber in plastic. So you're never really running to the limits of flow rate with a benchy. What matters is if you print a big box. And if you're printing a big box, which is what most people end up doing on bigger machines, is you're not accelerating. You're just staying at max speed for long periods of time, at which point your acceleration doesn't mean that much. Like our XL, for example, we can easily push 12,000 millimeters per second squared accelerations with respectable quality. We derate it to 4,000 because at 4,000 you get perfect at everything. And do you notice the difference? No, because you're not printing benchies, you're printing parts. And it does wind me up because everyone's like, oh, here's the new marketing like hype, like here's the speed we can do. I'm like, does it matter?
No, it
All
doesn't.
prints are the same at the end of the day.
And let's be real. If your print takes an extra 10%, does it matter? Does it really matter? Right?
Nope.
It's like at some point, too big's too big. Okay? Right? Like you're sacrificing something for speed. Right? You're sacrificing something. And what is that something? Don't know. But check if you want the fastest printers out there, Deltas.
Yep.
Deltas have always been able to do print speeds well above that. Rapids on a Delta? Okay, the Rapids on a on like probably the fastest printer out there. Oh, that's going to be between the Pantheon HS3 and the Magneto X. Those would be probably the two fastest normal, non-Delta printers. Delta printers make both of those look like a Honda versus a Ferrari.
Deltas make it look easy, whereas the Pantheon and the Magneto have put their entire marketing budget into let's make this thing work.
Yeah,
And
Magneto's
they're
like,
just
F it.
catching up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like a Delta is just like, oh yeah, we've been doing that for ages. Like they're so Deltas make it nonchalant. They're like, yeah, speed is a guarantee.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the same thing. It doesn't matter if you have a Delta. It's
Nope.
flow rate. It's always been flow rate. All
Always.
printers have been relating to flow. Once Input Shaper arrived, it was flow. Even before Input Shaper, it was flow rate. It's why hell so the motors we're going with Construct 2 are rated for 210 degrees. We're only pushing 300 millimeters per second still. We're not going to push them faster.
If people want to push them faster, they can.
Yeah.
You're not.
We can push meter per second on it. Easy.
You do the same thing that Prusa does. You deliberately derate your machines because you know at this speed, it is safe, it is comfortable, it is going to work. If you go above this, that's on you. And if things don't work, that's on you. But at what we give you, it will work perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Russ with the $10. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Great to see you here in the chat. Yeah,
that's why I don't like Eliarchi as a machine. I can't rate the company. I've never talked to them. But
the concept is cool.
If their engineers are pulling fast and loose with design technique
people will
to
die.
make this thing possible, people will die. Yeah. I mean, how? If it's uninsulated, which it absolutely should not be, at 90C, that is not just like light burn risk. That is serious burn risk.
You're dumping so much heat into the room that it's in. Hell, if you have an Eliarchi without an enclosed chamber, put it on a shelf like this, enclose the shelf, and every other printer on the shelf now has a 60-degree chamber. Like,
yeah,
it's going to dump so much heat into the room, it's not even funny.
If you put that machine in the corner of a room, you risk damaging your room.
Yeah.
Because your walls are not rated for being around that sort of
You'll
temperature.
melt paint.
Easy.
You'll melt paint.
If you've got wires in that wall, you might burn your house down because the wires will get hot.
You'll scorch wood tabletops.
Yeah. And they've not once shown insulation in any of their marketing material, in any of the YouTube videos. And I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt. Hopefully they thought of it because it's such a low bar to go, yeah, let's just use like foam insulated metal panels or just double insulate, like metal inner, air gap, metal outer. So there's not direct contact to the heat. But holy shit, 90C. And bear in mind, they're claiming 90C, but some of the temperature sensors in the videos I've seen go above 100 in the hotspots, which means it's going to get hotter than 90C. That is a burn risk. That is a electrical risk. That's a building risk. Like, imagine I was just carrying around a half-warm pot of oil, just like from cooking, and I just put it on any surface. That is the equivalent. That is literally what that printer is doing. Is just you're carrying a hot pan at all times, but it stays hot for hours on end. You are going to damage your buildings, and they're not talking about it. And it doesn't look like they've done the minimum safety. Fuck it. Stratasys. You've used a Stratasys. I've used a Stratasys. You know what they do great? The window.
It's really good.
Window.
Yeah. It's crazy thick.
You do not risk burning yourself on that window. You can touch it, you can lick it. If you're licking it, I'm questioning you, but I'm not judging you.
Hey, whatever you do with your expensive 3D printer in your free time is between you and your printer.
If you buy that printer.
You have earned the right to lick the printer. You know what? Fine, you've earned the right.
But
there goes our Stratasys sponsorship, by the way.
Oh no, we probably made the Stratasys sponsorship.
Yeah, they into that kind of thing.
I know. Hey, I'm already blacklisted. It's fine. But no, like, Eliarchi just have a single glass plate. Like, it's single plane.
I mean, even that's all Cheaty has. Cheaty has no insulation. It's blown ABS panels, basically, and glass plates. So there's a glass front, glass top. Yeah. And the glass is, I think, 6 mil thick. It's not thin. It's glass. But you can see gaps in everything. There's so many... There's so many gaps because they've wanted it to look pretty. Like, I get it. It's way nicer than the +3. My God, that machine was ugly. It looked like a damn cow. It was black and white, and it was an ugly machine.
It was very in your face.
Adding a little bit of like rock wool insulation. Like, someone was asking like how to get better chamber temps in a P1S. I'm like, I don't recommend it, but you could put a blanket on top of it.
Yeah.
Literally put a
Cardboard
fire
box.
blanket on top of the machine. That's insulation.
Honestly, have a look at cardboard. Triple layer.
Nope,
Triple
don't.
layered cardboard.
It's flammable. Put a fire blanket.
Yeah, but
Put a fire blanket.
it'll definitely heat up if you put cardboard on.
Look, just because we've done it and we know it works doesn't mean we can recommend it publicly to people, right?
I made a cardboard computer case. I can't complain. I am
Yeah.
the definition of don't do what I do.
Is that a do as I say, not as I do thing?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I back to that comment from earlier that it's like me having 50 years of industry experience and speedrunning. It's because I fucked up a lot. That's why. You learn the hard way.
Many
You become
mistakes were
jaded
made.
very quickly.
Yep.
If you do your entire life's worth of fucking up early, brilliant. You don't have to do it again. And then you still do it because you realize what you can get away with every time. Don't do what I do. Don't.
No.
It's not worth it.
No.
But no, I don't like the printer. It worries me that there are oversights that shouldn't have been oversights that are so obvious to somebody like me who now I am probably the last person you should normally talk to about what is obvious versus not, because it's my job is to see the non-obvious things. Especially as a machine designer, I have to constantly be thinking about that wire. What does it do? How does it bend? How does it heat up? What does that go? Like, my job is all about figuring out the unforeseen, which is obvious in hindsight. But holy shit, there's some things in there that I look at going, yeah, that should have been caught by the data tech sheet. Like, if there even is one. Like, an LED strip, I can see being high temp, but only if it's single color. I have never in my life experienced a RGB LED strip that is rated for high temp.
The concern that I have... Good.
Fans.
Fans?
I've not found a single fan.
Well, the fans are cooling themselves, Jacob. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, that's why they're normally only rated for 65C.
Totally.
That's why I've just paid £18.50 per fan for my exhaust chamber fans because they're expected to survive in 75C. They're magnetic levitation fans because I cannot use bearings at those temperatures. There has to be zero contact because if there is contact, it will overheat.
Yep.
That is how close the margin for the exhaust fans are. They've even got tacho sensors. So when they fail, I'm not saying if, when they fail, the machine can then inform itself that, hey, the exhaust fans have stopped, time to replace them. They're on quick connectors because I'm expecting them to fail even though they're rated for that temperature. These are the type of things that a designer who made their machine should have gone, maybe we're doing something stupid and we shouldn't be doing it. And it just, I worry about
I do too.
How this is affecting the market. Because we're going to get clones.
We're going to get clones. And first off, Bearded Printer, $5. Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much.
You know what worries me? This is a company never heard of before. Have no clue who they are. They have no experience in this industry. And they are using one of the kind of quintessential things that we see from China, which is a random name with a random name with a random name. Because if it doesn't work well, it fades into non-existence. And that's it. You can't sue a company in China easily. And, like, you have to hope they take it seriously. And, I mean, literally from my experience with them, and I reached out to them like about a week ago saying, hey, I see other people got them. Do you guys have any more machines left over? Silence. Silence from them. And so I wish things were different. I want them to work with professionals. And I want, like, I get it. Not every company can afford to do all of this properly. But then work with the right people. Right? Work with the right people. That makes it better. Right? Hire professionals. If you don't have the people, pay people to do it for you. And if you're afraid about the cost, raise the price of your machine. Also, the name of your AMS clone, the VOO with 5 O's, is stupid. That's stupid.
I'm going to say something kind of, I like it.
It's stupid.
I love it.
I
I
hate
love
it.
stupid things.
I hate
And
it.
I just really, they miss a marketing opportunity though, to actually have the circles as individual colored reels.
That would have been cooler. Would have given
Like,
and if somehow it's the vo, but it's vu because you could light them all up. I don't know. It's like God marketing, but they're going to have a successful Kickstarter, right? It's already fully funded, I believe,
yeah.
and now it's going to be up to them to actually deliver. And from what we've seen with
I just saw how
creators,
much they've earned. They've earned 500,000.
yeah,
No, no, that's the Wonder Maker. Whoa, thank God. Let me get the Eliarchi up.
yeah. Elioch, I think was it like 600 on Friday,
Checking now. 61K. I'm
61,000.
61,000, 75 backers.
What's their
That's in British
what was
pounds.
their goal? 10K.
1K.
Okay, yeah, they had a stupid low goal.
Stupid low
they had a
goal.
guaranteed goal. Okay, yeah, I hate that too. I hate when
I
companies
will
do
give
that.
it to Wonder Maker. A 40K goal, reasonable. That's one way you can tell
More
it's more likely
reasonable.
to be. Like
Yeah.
40K is low. David Cotter asking UL testing. No, there's no fucking way this is UL tested.
No, the UL testing is
Mate,
going to cost more than they've currently have backed on their
we
Kickstarter.
we've spent close to 100 grand getting our UL testing, and we can't use the UL logo.
Yeah.
Like, keep that in mind. We passed. We've done everything. We still can't use the logo because we didn't pay enough money. That and one clerical error, stupid bullshit. But legally, we've passed, which is the important bit because that's the safety side. I don't care about the logo. I care about the safety.
Yep.
This one, however, nah, they're just.
So
I wouldn't be surprised if there is zero compliance checking. I
Frank
could probably go
R.
through it bolt by bolt and figure it out.
Frank R says so far what I get out of this stream, you can't really buy any current 3D printer. No. If you want like a properly safe machine, I hate it because Jacob is the co-host of the show and you're going to feel like I'm getting paid to say this. Literally, I'm paying Jacob to be here even though he's refusing to accept the money.
Yeah, I'm
But
not taking your money.
I'm not getting paid to say this. Literally, the only like properly safe printer out there right now is a Construct 3D machine. Period. Now you can get a Prusa with a blaze cut that's safer, but it's not technically perfectly safe.
From my perspective, as the shill in this, if you could say that, there's only three printers that I classify as safe. One is Stratasys,
Oh, okay.
because they've done UL. They've done full UL. They're the only
Well,
ones that
when
we
their
were
printer
gunning
started
for.
100 grand, fine.
Yep. Then there was Prusa, who have done UL now.
But they're the
But
greenwashed UL, right?
so I think they've now done full,
Okay.
but they've not got the next step. Like they've done UL, they are safe.
Prusa's as safe
but
as you're gonna get at that price point. I'll tell you that much.
They are golden tier. Like once
Yeah.
you hit UL, you're pretty sure it's safe. But they don't have the redundancy because they don't need it. Once you do UL, you don't need redundancy. The only reason we have redundancy is I'm a paranoid git, and I love being the one that does everything to the nth degree. So we've done so much testing, it's insane. We've done pretty much every test on the planet twice over. Like we've gone above and beyond UL standards for a load of this testing, like flame retardant testing. We've set machines on fire, like actively set them on fire in machinery. Like there's a machine to set machines on fire, so you can then rate how flammable it is. I believe I'm aware now. Anyone working at Prusa Research, please correct me because I think you might have this as well, but I haven't proven it, so I can't say it. I believe we're the only ones that have an ingress protection rating.
I don't believe Prusa has that.
Cool. We're the only ones with an ingress protection rating. Our machine is IP4X. Technically, it's IP41 or IP42,
Yeah,
but we didn't test the water side because we're not getting these machines.
I don't see why that matters, but
it's the test. It's the level that we go.
Yeah,
to.
I get it. It's in for a penny, in for a British pound. I get it. I get it. You know, when you're here, just tick all the boxes and go through it. Mitch L for the $5, thank you, says, this printer really makes me nervous and a disaster waiting to happen. I agree. And how is Ellie Archie going to handle that? We don't know. We don't have any answers to this. And I am worried that they're just not going to do anything. They're a brand new company. Like, I am all for supporting new companies in this industry. 100% support new companies. But they need to do something to validate me supporting them. Like, I support Construct because you guys give a shit about your printers. I support Prusa because Prusa gives a shit about their printers and their support. Now, I don't own a Construct machine, so I can't validate the support. Given that I know it's you and your family that are the support people, the only concern they're going to have is shutting you the hell up. It's the same problem they have with me.
It
Right?
happens a lot
When
to
I
me.
talk with Prusa people, I'm like, I just want to keep talking with them, especially when they recognize me. It's always funny when I'm in the chat. They're like,
Hmm.
"Are you 3D Musketeers, Grant?" I'm like, "Yes, yeah, that's my email." "Oh, I love your channel." I'm like, "This has got nothing to do with my channel.
Yeah.
I will start this chat over with my burner email if I have to. I forgot that I was logged in with this email still. I just need to make sure I'm doing this right." And it was on the Core One because they don't use a regular Bowden connector. They use a Czech style Bowden connector. It's much stiffer. And I thought I was doing something wrong. No, you push it like it owes you money, and then it works. I'm like, I think I'm doing this right. I'm gonna break something. So like, I went to Prusa support. Um, so like, and I will buy these companies because of their support. I have a Cheaty Plus 4. I'm looking at buying a few more of them because I want the chamber, right? The H2D might be a printer that we can put in the safety category. We don't know yet. The fire retardant enclosure puts it ahead. So I will put an asterisk. The H2D might actually be something that we can put in there. But when I look at for what I want in a printer, the H2D versus the Plus 4, I might be willing to take the risk on the Plus 4 because I know what I'm doing and I'm comfortable with it and I'm comfortable to verify. If I wasn't, yeah, you know what? I might look at the H2D as a printer, not as a laser, as a printer. There's some value there. But
Yeah.
if I'm looking at the H2D versus, at that price category, now the Construct One XL comes into play, and I'm like, well, I mean,
They're within spitting distance now.
they really are.
Still a bit of a far spit, but they're getting awkwardly close.
No, I think the tariffs are going to, well, for the States, the tariffs are going to bring it a lot closer.
Mm.
I don't know what the tariffs are from the UK, but on this printer from China,
10%.
you're looking at upwards of 40%.
Oh!
What is it for the UK?
Flat 10.
Yeah, I think it's 10.
Yeah, we got the minimum. Unfortunately, we're not Russia, so we're not exempt.
Don't get into this. We've talked about it. No politics.
I'm allowed to. We've got sanctions against them.
We can make crappy political jokes, but we can't talk politics on this. This is not what we do here. We talk politics in the politics channel in the Discord, which is one of the few channels that I have muted in my own damn Discord. Because I don't want to get pinged about things I'm not happy with.
Funny orange man making things expensive for everyone.
And hey, yeah, we talk about food, Mitch says. We don't talk about politics.
Yeah, we actually we majoritarily do talk about food.
It's true.
Like half my posts are food.
Yeah. And John O says 40% on declared values. They can't just undervalue their printer to reduce their tariff penalty. Companies
They
will
can,
do it.
but there is a sanity check. So it's why we can't just be like, our printers are worth £5 and import them directly into America for free, because then it quickly gets into legal territory you do not want to get into.
And there are companies that are okay with that. You guys aren't.
Yeah. Hell, we had the funniest experience the other day. So we've just got our prototype screens for Construct 2. Also,
still
hey,
such a cool
this is
screen.
prototype screen.
I do like it. Really
So
like
instead of having like a little 7-inch touchscreen we've got at the moment, I like how I say little 7-inch touchscreen. Holy shit, I've got one here. There we go. So instead
is this
of having
you versus the touchscreen she tells you not to worry about?
so this is a big touchscreen. Like that is my hand. It's already like 2.5 times bigger than the Prusa's screen. That's the new one.
Yeah, that's you versus the touchscreen she tells you not to worry about.
So we got this, and they asked me, what do I want to declare the price of these screens at? they're not cheap. They're like 95 quid each on
That's
their website.
expensive. Jesus.
They are slightly custom. It's because of their temperature rating and their fire control, and there's other aspects that
Okay,
make them
fair.
expensive. When we scale up, they hopefully will come down because expensive. It's also because they're stretched, so there's a lot of wasted mother glass around. But that's a completely different conversation about how screens are made. But like, call it 100 quid for a screen for easy math. 100 quid. The company emailed me, and they went, "How much do you want to put on the shipping document? You could put any price you want." I'm like, don't tempt me, because I will fall for it. I'm not going to, but you shouldn't be asking me.
Yep.
That is not something you do. If I got audited with this email that I legally have to keep, I would be in very hot trouble very quickly.
Yep.
I will be going straight to gulag. Like, it is not good. And yeah.
Millennium
So
Machine
yeah,
Works
don't do it.
says with the £2 saying that we've swapped sides, and now he's gonna call you Grant. I can change your
It's my
name to
show
Grant
now.
too if you want.
Do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Make it
I won't remember to change it back.
For the next 10 streams, Grant to.
Yeah, just Grant too. No,
Grant
it's a screen real estate thing. We talked about it in the beginning of the show. Yeah, like that's we will see stuff like that. We're seeing the de minimis go away, so Prussias are going to get very expensive. But that's why we have printed solid. You can buy them printed solid for less. Although we'll see if their prices get increased. But
we might have found a way to reduce the import tax to America, but we're quoting out. I'm talking to a guy who has possibly found a way to do a loophole with the military side.
10%, I don't care, homie. If I'm already
military,
spending,
but 10% doesn't matter.
If I'm spending $3,000, an extra $300 doesn't matter. I wouldn't worry about that. Don't play the loopholes. Yeah,
it's not worth it. There's just way too much pain, and if they kick up a fuss, it will create way too much pain for you, not me.
The
It's not
last
my
thing
problem,
you
then.
want
Your
are
problem.
inspectors shutting your business down so that they can go through all of your documents. You
Hell,
don't.
I've already
that.
had to kick an inspector out of my factory. They were trying to look for TVs for the TV license. I'm like, no, piss off, get out my factory. You're not walking around my factory unsupervised. You don't just get to walk into my factory.
Yep.
Go away. And they never showed back up.
You let me walk around reasonably unsupervised. How do you know
Yeah,
I'm not an inspector? This is all just a ruse.
But you also saw things you're not allowed to talk about. Well, you are allowed to talk about, but you're not allowed to show on camera, which is even more exciting.
I do that all the time. I see tons and tons of things that I can see physically, but I can't talk about.
There's a joke there. You know what did arrive the other day? All the motion components for the definitely not. I'm planning to do eventually some form of either research or YouTube video on the different type of motion systems and how they survive over time. So I've got linear slides, linear rails, metal V-wheel, and metal roller bearing. So and obviously regular V-wheel. So I should be able to cover 100% of all of the motion system components, other than linear motors, because those shits are way too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I could get you one from Magneto or from Poly if you want.
I would be tempted to say yes.
They're not going to fail, but you know why they'll fail? Because they're on a linear MGN 12 or MGN 15. That's where it's going to fail. So let's tie a bow around this one, homie. What can you do to make printers safe? And I'm saying you as the individual, not you as the manufacturer. What can the average person do to make their printers safe?
I'd say there's three main big ones. Check what's above your machine.
Yep.
If in the case it does catch fire, make sure it won't spread to something. So if you've got a propane tank above your printer, consider not doing that. I've seen somebody that has that. Just don't even.
Okay.
But consider what's above your machine and around it. If your machine is moddable, possibly remove some parts that aren't needed. So if it is, say, like it's Soval that hit on Reddit the other day where the head caught fire, that head only caught fire because the plastic surround was there. If your head survives without the plastic surround, consider removing it. I'm not saying you have to. I wouldn't. I'm lazy. I like the look of the
I
blue
removed it on the
plastic.
Cheaty. It cools way better with
But
the head off.
the plastic surrounds on a lot of printers are points of failure.
Yep.
Like they're just material that can act as fuel. If you don't need it, get rid of it, or print it again in a higher temperature material that is preferably either
Yeah. Or
self-extinguishing
an FR
or
material.
an FR material. So that is another thing. Add possibly smart switches. Like if you've got some form of home assistant, add a smart switch. If your printer is Clipper, just get it the moment it detects a fault that is a heater and then a temperature target, turn off the power completely. I wouldn't personally recommend the flame extinguishers, like the explosives or anything. Whilst they're nice to have,
It's too late
they
at that point.
also it's too late. If you're using them and you don't have anything to stop the fire after it's been extinguished, it's going to come back. At which point you've made a mess and a fire. There's no middle ground.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but yeah, just be cognizant that printers are not appliances and they do fail deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are industrial equipment with things that are designed to get hot. They are more complex than your toaster, and at some points actually do get hotter than your toaster. So do consider that while they might look pretty and they might be designed for your kids or you go more industrial or the hobbyist, just consider safety factors. If a thing fails, if it gets hot, keep it cold. If it fails because of a certain thing, isolate that thing, add redundancy. Big one's redundancy. If something goes wrong, check what will go wrong and ask the question, will it stop itself if it went wrong? Most of the time, it's relating to heaters and heater beds. Other times, it could just be stupid things. Like it could just be a loose plug. You never know. But
And
other than that, there's not really too much you can do.
Rob Lutter says he'll never buy a Cheaty printer ever. We don't know that it was the printer that caused the
Mm,
fire. Decisions. If you have other reasons why you won't buy their machines, fine. But we don't know the reason for that fire. We have some ideas,
mm.
talked about them. We're not ready to point fingers. I guess we've kind of speculated, but we haven't said this is the reason.
And I will say, like for the Quiddy in particular,
Oh, because of everything
it's
that
not.
Jacob is saying. Okay,
Oh,
well then
it's not more dangerous.
reach
The
out to
Quiddy is
Jacob to
not
buy
more
a
dangerous
printer.
than others. Like most 3D printers are in, let's call it like there's three tiers. There's actually dangerous, regular printers, and actually safe.
Yep.
There are not many in actually safe. You're looking at industrial multi £10,000 machines. You're looking at, I'd even put ours on the low end of absolute safe. And that's just because I'm anal about safety. I wouldn't even put Prusa in absolute safe. I would put them on the high end of regular. Quiddy is in regular. All of these have the same problems that could go wrong that could cause fire. Prusa have printed parts. They're not fire retardant printed parts. They're just printed parts. And the failure rate of if it was the Quiddy's heater went wrong is the same failure that would happen in the Prusa. The machine doesn't matter at that stage. It's just printers in general. And then you get actually dangerous, which is the Ellie Archie bullshit, where they're just pulling things and you're talking about your A nets with no thermal runaway, or the original Bamboo Lab firmware that took 3 to 5 minutes to stop a thermal runaway. That's actually dangerous. But for most printers, they're in this nice middle ground of you'll probably be fine.
Yep.
Like legitimately, you'll probably be fine. Like the risk of a fire is probably greater from your car than from your printer at this stage.
I would
And
agree.
cars catch fire a lot more than you think. Like
Yep.
people thought electric cars catch fire bad. No, petrol cars are the primary cause of electric cars catching fire. Just say.
It's fair.
Like that's the statistics. So I don't stop yourself buying machines just because I said thing might be dangerous. They're all the same.
But if
Honestly,
you
they're
do
all the same.
want a safer machine, understand that it comes at a higher price point and be willing to accept that higher price point. You can't often get something that is cheap and safe at the same time. It's not. To do it right costs money. And sure, could the Construct 1 or even the Construct 2, could the price be halved when you look at mass manufacturing? Absolutely it could. But they're going to have tons of funding and all of this. It's not reasonably feasible. It's feasible, it's just not reasonably feasible. And while there is a low chance printers do possess some level of risk, it is why, as a content creator, you will not see us do reviews on any machine for at least 3 months. I had a fun issue with my Core 1 that I now need to figure out. When I moved it, the bed came way out of skew. Like, it was
Ooh.
like this. And there's no easy way to fix that. It was turn the machine off, turn it back on, and then push the bed all the way down. That was the only thing I could think of. That's what I did. And it was perfect after that. But why the hell did that happen? Why the hell did that happen when it was moving with nothing in it? It was the raw machine. Why did that happen?
That's weird.
So I need to understand why that happened. Right? Because, like, I can just grab my Mark IV, Mark IV, huck it in my car, take it to a place, click print, and it's going to print perfectly. No issues whatsoever. So, yeah. Are machines perfect? No. I also have, like, an early review sample. But I thought I was ready to do my review on the Core 1. I'm obviously not. I'm obviously not ready to do my review on the Core 1. I'm definitely not ready on the Cheaty. Every time I feel like I'm kind of ready to talk about it on a review standpoint,
pops up.
something else pops up. I'm like, well, I gotta wait for that to do. So we'll see. We'll see. Scops Owl Designs. Welcome Basic Sport. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. You have access to lots of behind the scenes content now. Me personally, I'm going Blaze Cut. I'm going Blaze Cut, and I think I'll have Cloud as an absolute backup. But that is mainly because as a business, the machines, meaningless to me. Meaningless. It is the hard drives in this room. It's the data. If the data has problems, I have problems. I have legal problems if we have data security issues. And fires present massive data security issues. So for us, I don't care if everything gets covered in ABC powder and I have to clean it all up. You know whose problem that is? A company who I'm going to pay to do it. Right? Throw the printers out, vacuum everything else up, you're done. Right? And then have a professional company come in and clean everything else up. My shelves are made of metal, although hilariously, there's a thin piece of hardy board. It's a pressed wood, doesn't burn very well, but technically it's still wood. Then yoga mats, probably flammable. EVA foam, probably flammable.
Yeah. Oh, exceedingly flammable.
Yeah, probably flammable. I haven't tested it. I got some spare stuff I should probably try. It doesn't laser
I believe it's
very
propane
well.
based. I think the base like polymer is propane derived.
It doesn't light fire when I laser it. It melts more. It's weird. I don't like the way that it lasers, but I do that for vibration isolation. We have Wham Bam clouds, so if you look above me, you'll see that there's some thickness to these shelves. There's clouds above every single individual printer, and then there's crossbars as well. So when the cloud blows, it should most of it fall completely straight down. In my head. But we're gonna look to do Blaze Cut. Now just talking with Blaze Cut. I understand where you sit with that stuff. But like for your print farm, probably having
I mean, I'm considering it. Like legitimately considering it.
For the price.
I'm lucky that for the factory we don't keep data. If we kept data, I'd be active fire suppression.
Well, I also don't want to burn my shop down. Right? When we look at the new shop, which is going to be in a steel building of some sort, whether it's a container or a steel building or something, it's going to be in a building that's non-flammable. So the building I don't have to worry about. It's everything else that I have to worry about. We will at that point do offsite data retention. So I'll do offsite data retention here at the current facility, which is just going to not have as many machines in it anymore. But there exists some level of in between BS, if you will, where I'm not certain what's right, but what I know is what's wrong. It's like the legal definition of pornography, right?
Yeah.
I can't easily describe it, but I know it when I see it. And I can't easily describe what proper fire safety is, but I can easily tell you what bad fire safety is looking at it.
Yeah.
Also, Mitchell, welcome to Basic Support. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much. We would normally be hanging out in the Discord, but after this, but Amber took me to see Into the Woods yesterday. It's a musical that she really likes. So we went to go see that. So I haven't gone grocery shopping, which means I have to go grocery shopping because Costco closes at 6 and it is 3:30. So I understand that it's like 8:30 for you at night. But yeah, that's fine. Mitch L says I need to join the Discord. That is at the $10 tier and higher, yeah. Mitch. Sorry, that's not included with the basic support. We did decide to pay gate the Discord early on, mainly because we spend a lot of time in that Discord. Yeah. I mean, you know this, Jacob. I'm in there many, many hours a week. I try to respond to every single thing that I can. I try to be active and help out, and it is a different community there. It's much smaller. There's only a couple hundred people in there. And, you know, for the most part,
it's very nice. It's
real. It's real.
It's very real.
Especially if you're running a business.
I've literally had my camera on in the factory, just talking to someone about a piece of technology. Yep. Like you're getting access to things that you normally wouldn't just from, say, a stream or YouTube. You get the behind the scenes of a lot of things, but you also get just like the raw people and just the knowledge that comes with it. And if you're thinking from a business case, the $10 a month, it's the cheapest $10 you're going to spend. And the amount of quality that is there, like, it's nice. It's
the level nice. Of like intelligence that exists in this server beyond my own is often incredibly surprising to me. Like, you know, we'll talk about something and then someone's like, oh yeah, I have experience in this. We have 2 people in our Discord that are gemologists. This is what they know. This is their thing. Mitchell just upgraded. Well, thank you. Greatly appreciated. To the Discord. We'll see you in there.
I legitimately spend more time in the Discord than I do on my own Discord. That's how good this Discord is.
Yeah.
So you're gonna love it.
It is a lot of fun. So Mitch, please send me an email and I will get you added to the Discord as soon as we're out of here. Marcel with the £6. Jacob, you want to read it?
Yes. My 2 cents to support the channel. And Jacob, I really want a Construct 3D in my small farm. Well, you can buy one. They're available right now. You can get one and we can make one for you. They're all made to order and you will get a signature, and probably my signature will be on there because I sign off most of them. So they'll be built by me and my dad. And if you buy it, you get both our signatures to say that we've checked it off. Nice little check sheet.
Can you also include a blank check with that printer for me? Just don't worry about it.
Unfortunately, I've got to admit that they are separate signatures than our actual signatures, just in case. I had to remind Dad, do not use your actual signature on these documents. These are for quality control, not for giving out your signature. VO1 in or voltage 1 in?
I don't know. Ask about Jacob's voltage. YouTube. Jacob doesn't really have a YouTube.
I do have a YouTube channel. It has nothing on it. I don't plan on it adding anything because it just takes way too much effort. But I do plan on making videos. So it's this weird middle ground of, do I make my own and possibly start from scratch with just some very sporadic, maybe one video every couple of months of just me doing something for research and I film it at the same time? Or I just give it to Grant and then I can let him give a veto of, yeah, we could put this on the channel or put it on your own. I'm not sure yet. It's definitely going to be an experience and I'm going to be learning a lot because I've never done YouTube before. I just have a lot of theoretical knowledge. So it should be fun. Oh, violin. Oh, that's the name.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I like that. I thought it was a voltage thing for like electrical engineering.
Volin, by the way.
Oh, Volin.
Yep.
Oh, I'm dyslexic. It's like that words and letters.
It's Volin.
Words and letters.
Yep.
And yes, if you do buy a printer, you can come and collect it in person, and it will actually save you shipping.
And it's a
because
really cool
we use the
factory to
pallet
go
set.
check out.
Is a cool. You get a full factory tour. You get to come over, take the printer, take it with you. Like it's good, and you get to even decide how much packaging you want to take with you.
Will you
Because
offer a
sometimes it's too
cuppa?
much. Yes, that is UK law. There will be hot drinks.
Yes, a printer in person includes free cuppa.
Depending on the day, might even have free biscuits.
Biscuits are pretty good.
The biscuits are good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. And if you are a member, I'm releasing that later today. If I remember. I keep saying I'm going to do it, and I keep forgetting to do it.
Good.
The entire cuppa. It's like 8.5 minutes of us drinking tea and chatting.
Yep. It's good.
Yeah, it's very, very funny. All right. Let's wrap this
I think
up.
that's it.
Let's give away some filament, and then we'll call it. Jacob, you want to do the outro, or you want me to do it?
No, I'll do it.
All right.
And it's nice in times because especially with today's topic, everyone, please stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. And that's going to conclude it for the Making Awesome podcast 221.
Yep.
Thank you for staying. Thank you for enjoying me rant about safety. I love it as much as I hate it.
It is the lore. I literally put in the description. Did you read the description of
No,
of
I
this
haven't.
one? Yeah. The description says, "Get your snacks. I have a feeling we will have lots to say." It's in the description of this one.
Yep.
So I hope you had your snacks.
No, unfortunately. Call it intermittent fasting and nobody complains.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's what I say. All right, let's end the recording. Go give away some filament. Bye now.
Bye, everyone.
Except we're still here because...
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, hi, we're back again. So for those that don't know, if you're joining us new, we do a podcast that goes out on Spotify and all the other podcasting platforms that lags 1 week. So, and that is audio only. It's a video podcast on Spotify, so you can still watch it on video. But we got a lot of complaints when we gave away the filament during the show because it just took away from the movement, right, of the show. So we end the recording, then we give away the filament. So...
I want to try something.
Oh, God, what are you doing now? I'm afraid. What's he going to do?
It's the After Dark stream.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, and this is when people realize I actually did have a key light in the printer. I put...
Nice.
Yeah, just like a really little...
I literally only have 2 lights in here. 2 lights! That's it. Like, I have no money in lights. Oh, Jacob, I did just buy my first, like, really nice softbox. I bought an aperture light dome 2 off of Reddit for $100. Oh, it's so... Jesus, what? I think it's so bright. That is so bright. A few times. Let's give away a spool here. Jeez. Dude's gonna blind himself.
There we go. Should I have like a little bit of a blue cast now?
You're literally putting more effort into your lighting than I put into mine.
There you go. Put a little bit of red cast on the other.
Oh shit! This is we're now in April. We're now in April, so all of it's reset. I did not make a new one for April, so whoever won, assuming they got the math right, they win. And here's the cool thing: now that our shirts are available, you'll be able to, if you're not in the US, you can get a shirt. Yeah. You're fancy. I can do that with my lights too. I just don't. My lights are full ARGB. Brian Birmingham, are you here? Brian Birmingham.
The funny thing is, the red is not even a light. That's just the monitors.
Yeah. If I turn mine off,
I need to get a better camera. If I had a better camera, I wouldn't look like milk right now.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Look,
have you seen me on the stream? I look like milk. I've got Vaseline on me.
Well, I mean, you kind of... Do you look that way in Zoom? Yeah, you look exactly that way in Zoom.
No. Zoom looks good for me. But on the stream, it's like 420p.
Yeah, so that is likely going to be because of zoom is cutting the quality quite a bit. I don't see Brian Birmingham, so let's do another one.
There you go. I sent it in Discord so you can see the quality difference. It's not that much, but it's noticeable.
Oh yeah. I still look fine though, interestingly.
You look great. Like that's the thing, is you look great.
Well, I'm not using a ton of like good gear. It's just it is what it is. Let me see. I've my camera is nice, but my lights are cheap. My lights are really cheap. But they're at a point where I can mess up my circadian rhythm. Ava the Maker. Ava the Maker is here. You win a roll of filament. Is that the is that the light from Zion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
little 25 water.
This is the 40 watt.
Oh,
No,
it's
this
a 40.
Is the 40. This is the 40. I then have
Ava's there. All right, Ava, you win. You win a roll of
light
filament.
strip. Ooh. So I've got the full light strip with the fans on the back. I
Fancy.
actually love this thing. Then the cool ones, I actually use them for the factory.
I use lights like this,
Fancy.
these little like Ulanzi cubes. This is what I use.
This is one of the better ones that I really like. So these are the 20 watt ones. And these 20 watts are really nice because they're magnetized on the back.
Yeah.
So whenever I go into someone's workplace and they've got metal walls, I click it to the ceiling or into the wall and I get lighting wherever I need.
These are like
Great.
$20, the Ulanzi ones. Same deal. Like real bright, but because my camera has a real shutter, it can easily just adjust for this. But all right. Anything else where we toss these peeps to go hang out with Steve Builds and Modbot Daniel?
Nah, just make sure you stay safe out there. Like, obviously, we like to rant a bit about safety, but just don't be stupid.
Just don't be stupid.
Make sure you eat. Make sure you hydrate. Have you hydrated today?
Have I?
Yeah.
I'm pleading the fifth. I have the right to not self-incriminate. I'm not under oath, but whatever.
Make sure you hydrate. Anyone watching, make sure you hydrate. Make sure you
Ulanzi. That's the ones. It's the ones that we use. There's a bunch of generic ones like this. They're all basically the same. These are ARGB. I like them a lot. But yeah, I'm upgrading the standing set to be the Light Dome 2. Oh,
ooh, that would be nice.
Yeah, it's not as nice as the Light Dome 3, but I figured saving $100 for last year's model is plenty fine. So whatever. We'll talk camera gear in the Discord. See you all later. Take care. Enjoy. Have fun over at Steve's.